to make a children's card game. All it's going to cost you is your eye.
I've got 2 of them.
You know, if I knew that the game would be really popular, I might take that offer.
I mean, you would hope so, because you're making a deal with some sort of ancient evil.
I mean, it kind of worked out for him.
Yeah, hopefully you get like a, like a Pokemon or a Yu-Gi-Oh, and you don't get like a Bakugan.
Oh God.
Oh.
Oh, no. You want to talk about marketing failures? Let's talk, what was it called? Like Duel Masters?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Where they
I
made...
remember the name. I don't remember anything else about it.
Oh yeah.
It was the very, very kid-friendly version of Magic that they tried to market with an anime. And then they're just like, well, fuck, this isn't working, and people are just playing Magic anyways, so fuck it, don't do it.
You know what my 2 favorite bits of trivia about Duel Masters is? One, it's apparently it's super popular in Japan. And 2, it's not. There's a reason why it plays like a kid-friendly version of Magic.
It is
because
it's the same people.
No, they contracted Wizards of the Coast to make a kid-friendly version of Magic.
Yeah, exactly.
That blows my mind.
I shit you not. I played that long before I knew Magic existed, and then I didn't like Magic.
Before we knew Magic existed.
Yep.
Wild.
I gotta actually look this up because I gotta remember what Duel Masters actually looked like.
Yeah, that's important.
The only
Right.
thing I remember about Duel Masters is you use your monster cards for mana. And one episode, the only episode I've ever seen, was the bad guy was dueling the main character, and he's like, guess what? I have a copy of your favorite card, and to show you how much I hate you, I'm using it for mana!
I remember that. I watched this show.
It was not only the monsters used as mana, but they were also placed face down as shields, so you had to get through the shields before attacking the player. There were no hit points. There was no, like, Magic the Gathering, hey, you have 20 hit points. It was just, if you get attacked directly past your shields, then you lose.
And then, to show that he didn't care, the main character played his favorite card as mana! And everyone started going like, oh my god!
The disrespect!
And I'm like, this show might be a little goofy.
Weird flex, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take it. Weird, but I'll take it.
That was like an early anime that had the 3D stuff in it, and it wasn't good.
But that shit blew your mind as a kid.
Yeah.
Wow. Tough crowd.
Beast Wars blew my mind, but I'll even admit Beast Wars could look a little hope.
Don't watch it. Don't watch it again.
No, I won't. Yeah, it like the background. Even back then, I'm like, backgrounds are pretty boring. Like that's just a big old wide open field, nothing going on.
Yeah, it was good shit. This is good shit. I love Beast Wars. Transformers is like my jam. But nah. Just leave it in the past. Actually, what does still like kind of look pretty good is they had. You remember that series that came out right after Beast Wars? Like, it literally, the story progressed into it, where they went to Cybertron.
Yes.
Yeah, so that one actually still has some pretty cool design elements to it, and like some interesting things. It's not great, but it definitely looks better.
Like Transformers Cybertron?
No, that's a game and also another series.
It was like Beast something. Like they kept Beast.
Yeah.
It wasn't Beast Wars anymore. It was like Beast something.
Yeah, it's I can't remember, but it was pretty good, and I enjoyed that one because like you had everybody get like recoded in like new versions of themselves and shit.
They all are made of chrome.
Well, no, they weren't chrome because they were trying to push a little bit of they were trying to push like a, machines and robots are cool, but you got to remember nature is a thing.
Beast machines.
So like, yeah, they all had like.
Name of it was.
it was a little bit of a kind of environmentalist thing, but not completely.
There was
Isn't-
basically
isn't that
it was
the one- Sorry, go on.
It was their whole message was basically like the utopian ideal of like mixing technology with organic.
Oh, now I remember what I'm thinking of. Cybertron was the one that I got really into that had the fucking the mini bots or whatever the fuck they were called.
Shay, that's
Minicots.
amazing. You sounded just like Morph right then.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you. I've been practicing.
That's fantastic.
I'm impressed.
Wasn't that the one where Megatron just goes batshit insane though?
No, that's the one where his the scar the bee, the one who was the bee in Beast Wars.
Waspinator.
Jet
Yeah.
Scream.
Well, Waspinator accidentally fused with Dinobot, who was Starscream, and so they had like a weird split personality thing, and like he got like it was really interesting and fucking spooky.
Dinobot was the
and he was
raptor.
very-
Starscream was the pterodactyl, wasn't he?
Dinobot was the raptor. Starscream, there was a pterodactyl, but I don't think it was Starscream.
No, it was.
He was just like the other version of Waspinator.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it
the
was-
shitty-
he was the other-
Terrorize. He really emphasized the P's like a noob.
Yeah, he was not. But I think they
Right.
got rid of him
Yeah,
when they were
no.
like shaking up the cast. They killed him off.
Dinobot was the Starscream, but was the Starscream that defected to the Autobots?
He did. He did. Yeah.
Dinobot was my favorite.
So did a lot of them though. I think there is the one that was like a lion and an eagle together.
Oh yeah, I
they,
love
they
that.
were
Hun-
always part of the
Hun,
Autobots.
Hun, I love
Or
you,
the
but they
Manimals.
call that a griffin.
A lion and an eagle together. That's
Yeah.
fair.
But-
That is accurate.
but she's not wrong, because when they introduced him, he was one of the fusors where they put two animals into
yeah.
one. So they didn't introduce him as a griffin, they introduced him as a dog bird.
Oh,
That's right. I had that toy.
that's not even accurate.
Cool as shit.
Lions aren't canines.
No.
Well, no, he had a wolf face. Initially, he had a wolf head, and then he had like the eagle wings, and he was all white. Yeah, no, I had that toy up until like, shit, I don't know, 10 years ago.
And then he and Arachnia fell in love.
Yeah. Speaking of Arachnia, you could see her in that screenshot that I just posted. Bitch looks like a straight up Klingon.
I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
God,
No, I mean,
guys.
she also has eyes up her forehead, which I think is really interesting. She just keeps them closed most of the time.
Now
She-
I
she's
remember I
corrected.
didn't watch this show
Thank
very
God
much.
for that.
Yeah. This Yeah, but it was a serious step up in their animation. I don't know. I always really enjoyed the appeal.
There's some real uncanny valley going on with the rat though.
Oh Jesus, Rat Trap. Yeah, no. Like there's
Man.
some bad
Well,
stuff.
yeah,
in the
because
show.
he was the New Yorker comic relief.
No, I'm just talking about the face, that uncanny valley where it's like
Oh yeah, his eyes are wonky and
it very much is supposed to look humanoid, but it looks
Yeah.
too real, but not. It's
Yeah, they tried to make him as relatable as possible because he was definitely supposed to be like the
he was comic
the
relief.
audience's contact
Well,
there. He was
yeah.
the
Yeah, that's always how it goes with animation, especially with computer animation. The more stylized you get, the better things hold up. Like Optimus looks great, Cheetor looks great, like Spider Lady creeps me out, but she still looks fine. It's just that Rat Trap, not a fan.
Oof! I just found something funny too. I'm gonna post
They-
this.
they
I'm gonna
didn't
post this
really-
in Safe for Work.
They didn't really give Rat Trap much to do in that show, if I remember right.
Towards the end, no, not really.
That's funny.
he became a big focus when they updated the to Beast Wars 2 when they started having like machine mode, so he was a rat with wheels and it was weird.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I mean Beast Machines. Like he didn't really get much to do. Like they kind of were like, he doesn't even have any like attacks. He's such a wiener. Like, okay, why though?
Why
Why?
though?
But why? Well, hey, on that note, guys, we have a game to get back to.
We do.
Wait, we do?
I mean, we can talk about Beast Wars all night if you really wanted.
I think we really could.
We really could. You couldn't stop us.
I could.
Could you?
Yes, I
Could
could.
you?
I
I
could go
doubt
on
that.
about how in the original Dinobot sacrifice is still to this day can bring me to tears.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Well,
Solid show. All right, carry on.
yeah. Let's get this rolling. All right.
Solid show. Shame it doesn't hold up.
It doesn't look
Ah,
bad. The voice acting's still good.
Well,
voice
yeah.
acting's still good. Yeah. All right. Well. Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again to another fun-filled, exciting episode of Forest for the Trees. I know we've been gone for a while, mostly due to my own deteriorating health, but I promise I'm not dying, mostly. I'm conscious and cognitive enough to not have a coughing fit while trying to do this game. That's a plus. Also, my ear finally popped. That ear infection I had going on this morning, it finally popped, and boy howdy was that relieving. Woo, episode 2.
So how painful was it?
It wasn't.
That
It wasn't. It was super relieving to feel it. And, like, it's still there because I don't have any, like, antibiotics to clear that up. But it's
Alright.
not hurting. It's just, like, I've got this constant bubble on the right side. But it popped. And it was like, now it's less of a bubble. And it felt pretty good. Anyways, I digress. This is Forest for the Trees. It is a 1920s inspired high fantasy game that is a continuation of a homebrew that we had done once upon a time. It's been updated to a more modern-ish setting with more modern-ish problems and ideals. We set the setting in the city of Ralia. It is a mega city that is basically... if you take, like, the Judge Dredd setting, where they have, like, state large cities, that's basically kind of what's going on here. It is just a huge city that sprawled out from the foundations during a long-running war against another nation, and most of our citizens are inhabitants of this city that's divided into several districts that have various levels of rights and segregation, as you do in a 1920s appropriate themed game. Some of our players are, of course, aware of what they are getting themselves into, and definitely may or may not be terrorists, cough cough, at this point, considering the events that happened in episode 1. But, first things first, we should probably give a recap to remind our audience of who everyone is and who they're playing. So why don't we start with our wonderful terrorists that we all love.
and to remind ourselves of what we were doing a month ago.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I don't know about any of this terrorism thing that you're talking about. But, hi, I am RezPWG, and I am playing Patches, the awesome familiar divine soul sorcerer. Say that 5 times fast.
No.
I am a down on my luck alley dwelling street urchin who has a twin sister who may or may not be a source of constant pain and misery for me, much like most sisters are.
What? No.
I mean, you all adore Daisy.
And I am not a terrorist, so
There you go.
I was just delivering a hat.
Next.
Hi, I'm Keavah. I play Stitches, the possum familiar barbarian, twin sister to Patches. I am definitely a terrorist, and that's okay because the status quo has to change. But that's a big word, and I don't know that one.
That was
We
the
like-
twin I chose
we
to
like-
say.
We like to choose the term revolutionary.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, not gonna shot. I mean, actually, I don't eat. Hold. Do I know I blew up that thing? I don't know if I do.
We could definitely make a roll for that later.
Yeah, that'll be later. Anyway, I definitely beat the shit out of some cops, which is gonna definitely come back to bite me in the ass. But it's fine. Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Okay, next.
Hi, I'm Morphane. I'm playing Oswick Arkwright, a first day on the job police cop rookie, and I took part in the little scrap that happened. I doused some of my fellow blue cloaks, but on the fly decided to try and help some of the red cloaks escape. So
And got a
maybe
hammer
I
to the
need
face.
I got a hammer to the face, so I'm unconscious and will probably have a lot of explaining to do.
Hey, that makes a good segue.
I'm ArkSurvivor, and I am playing Dillinger Strongheart, a dwarf forge cleric who just knocked out Oswick for fighting the blue cloaks.
I'm the one who hit him in the face.
Exactly.
You hit me so hard, I have new character art.
that's fair.
It's. I don't know
Accurate.
if that's a good. Typically that wouldn't be a good thing.
It hit me so hard I got new character art.
I got hit so hard, my character's appearance completely changed.
This isn't the same person. We might as well let him go.
Mhm.
Just punch
Oh.
the yellow out of his color palette. Now there's just blue.
And last but certainly not least.
I am Shay, and I am playing Osley, an elf from the Cinefate, and sent here as an envoy to see just how fucked up these humans really are, and God, are they fucked up.
Off to a great start.
First experience in Raleigh, yeah.
Says the elf yelling from the top of a tree. Don't hurt each other! Don't hurt each other!
I was telling you all to stop.
Hey, I'll have you know she was super helpful during that whole combat encounter.
What is
I
she?
was completely out for myself.
I remember her sitting in a car, not doing anything, and then the car got lit on fire. Then she ran out of the car.
The car did
Look,
get lit on
Car
fire.
blew up.
Look, Shay would love to help you. Osley doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
I don't know what the hell is
Sees a
happening.
bunch of humans and familiars fighting each other.
Sees explosion, sees fire, goes into squirrel mode.
That's fair.
Speaking
I don't-
as a possum, I understand.
I totally agree with that.
Gonna climb this tree for safety.
Alrighty. Well, I think that is a good place to start. And so I'll go ahead and give us just a quick recap because it's great for us to reminisce, but other people might not know exactly what's going on. So, when last we left off, we had begun the day just like any other day in Raleigh, in a district called the Pause. It is the rundown, segregated section of the city where the familiars, the half-breeds, half-orcs, half-elves, and just the less wealthy, undesirable other people congregate in the sort and have to live. It is not a very good place to live, but it's the best you've got outside of living in the wilderness, beyond the city. And so most people make it home. The day started with a planned protest outside of one of the factories where many of the people who resided in the Pause had to work for unfair wages and unfair conditions. The protest had been going on for quite a while, and this seemed to be a turning point as the Red Cloaks decided they were going to use the protest to make a statement and cause a bit of chaos. Their initial plan was to overrun the factory and burn it to the grounds, but when it turned out that their counterpart, the royal guard of the city, the Blue Cloaks, affluent. They're affectionately named the Blue Cloaks given their attire, outfitted as well with blue cloaks, where the red cloaks are, what's the word? Where it's supposed to be a parallel of them.
Antithesis?
Yeah, where they're the antithesis of the city guard and the status quo faction powers that be. They chose to don red cloaks to show their opposition. When it turned out that the Blue Cloaks knew about the event and the planned attack, a trap had been sprung that caused the two forces to clash in the streets, following a bomb being detonated outside the main gates. Chaos ensued as both sides ended up clashing, and our heroes found themselves caught in the middle of it on various sides. Some people chose to jump into the fray, some people chose to hang back and try and help whoever they could that got caught in the blast. Others decided to watch from a tree once their car got set on fire. Notably, Azali, being a delegate from the Santa Fe Empire, had no leg in the race, so she chose not to take part in it other than observing and shouting from a safe distance until some of the Red Cloaks did in fact set her car on fire. Which is where we pick up. The scene on the streets above the sewers has started to die down, with the Red Cloaks retreating into the sewers to make their escape. Much of the guards that still are standing or have been arriving on scene have been busy trying to tend to the injured that were caught in the blast, and there were a good number of people that got caught in this blast. Most of the Finkmen, the hired muscle to keep people out of the factory, had been caught in the blast and were charred to a point where they weren't moving when they were found. Several of the protesting citizens unfortunately got caught in the blast, and they suffered varying degrees of injury as people like Deldra and other squad clerics arrived onto the scene to help tend to injuries and tend to the dead. It's at this point that Deldra and unconscious Oswick and probably Azali find themselves standing in the streets. A trio of other Santa Fate operatives, Azali's bodyguards and personal driver, whose car has been torched to uselessness, quickly march up to where she is. They have weapons drawn, but pulled to their sides in a show that they are prepared to defend themselves in their charge, but not take any action against the people they're, here to diplomatically delegate against. Curlis Ord, a lean blonde with a streak of white hair. He is a high elf. He's the one who steps forward. He's the main bodyguard of Azali, and he steps forward to her and looks around and says, "Well, this isn't a very good start to our mission, but I definitely think that it is a good sign of how you should be thinking and making your decisions about the way that we should handle things going forward." And then the well-mustached gnome chimes in. He says, "You're goddamn right you should be making an impression about what happened. They set my car on fire."
At this point, have I had the chance to go around and like treat the familiars and make it be like, hey, an elf saved you. You owe the elves more than humans.
Yeah, you've had time to go around and start tending to the wounds. So is Deldra. Oswick is still laying on the sidewalk, unconscious, probably being watched by a pair of blue cloaks. But the two of you have made rounds, and since you're trying to appeal to these impressionable, injured people, go ahead and make a persuasion check as a form of diplomacy to try and see if you can sway their opinions towards the Santa Fate.
Aren't they unconscious?
No, there's people with varying degrees of injury. Not Oswick. She's helping random people.
It's average.
Yeah, and so you do. You go about and you're like, hey, just remember when your own people are turning against you, the Sainafate are here to have your back, and you like finger crossbow at them, and then you boop them in the nose with a cure, and some of their injuries start to heal up, or you put some ointment, and as your bodyguards are basically arguing about what to do you respond to them at all? Because they're being quite vocal about their displeasure of being part of this attack and getting attacked.
You're not wrong. This is definitely not what I expected upon entering.
Yeah, I didn't expect it either. Who the hell's gonna pay for my car?
Does the car still function?
Make a perception check. It's still on fire.
Sure.
To put it into context, during the course of this fight, somebody had chucked basically a firebomb at the car, and the impact had hit the windshield. And while it didn't shatter the windshield, just the heat pressure on the glass caused it to break. And so once you all had gotten out of the car, the fire had spread to the inside as well. So it is just on fire. It is not salvageable. Yeah, so he is thoroughly pissed that your guys' car had been torched. With that perception check, you also have that moment to realize, oh shit, all my stuff is in there.
Oh. I'm gonna run over and I'm gonna start using compressed digitation.
No.
Compressed
Small
digitation. Yeah.
Yeah.
They can
And-
do like candle-sized fires.
And like,
Gee, if only you knew a wizard with control over water.
and like, you have to
doesn't,
keep in mind too that this has been going on for several minutes. Your priority was to go into the fight to do what you could, and then you started to tend to people. So this fire's been going on for several minutes, and so any effort that might have been made to try and salvage anything inside has long since passed because it is ablaze. So like, you could put it out and try and see if anything survived, but there's no way you're putting your hands in to try and recover your luggage or anything.
Yeah, I'll is there and there's like no like fire fighters or anything?
It's probably there are more people approaching, so there might be in fact a fire brigade on the way, but it's one of those situations where right now it is on fire.
Probably they're going to go to the factory first, then the car.
I mean, they might
there-
split people off and handle different tasks, but yeah, it looks like there's a fire brigade coming, and they're going to try and put things out.
Is there a hydrant?
You can make me another perception check. See if there's anything that equates to a fire hydrant.
Would an elf understand what a fire hydrant is?
That is kind of why I'm having her do this check.
Okay.
Yeah, you do see that in your human studies, you recall an object called a fire hydrant, and the propaganda behind it, had some text that equated to humanity's hubris in trying to dominate nature. They've trapped water spirits inside of a container to command it to spout water whenever they desire. Do not trust the evil human. They oppose nature and they enslave it.
Quickly! There's a water spirit trapped in that red thing.
Deldra, you hear Lee announce that she's going to attack the fire hydrant.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
How do you plan on opening the fire hydrant, Lee?
Is there a wrench thingy around?
Kick it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, kick it. Roll me an unarmed attack. But no, there wouldn't be like a wrench around because the fire brigade hasn't made it yet. And if they had, they probably would be using said fire hydrant. Are you actually kicking it? She's actually kicking it. You see her put her boot to the top of the fire hydrant, and because it's made of metal, it does not flinch.
Lass, that's
These
not going
bright
to
red
work.
prisons.
0 damage.
1 minus 1.
I mean, you always do a minimum of 1, but
Yeah.
In this case, it would be to herself.
it's still hilarious. So your boot makes contact, and because it's solid metal, it doesn't yield to your kick. And the gnome, he kind of shakes his head, and he's like, "Kid, what are you doing?"
I read that there's a water spirit in this.
Of course, there's a water spirit in there. That's the hubris of humanity trying to dominate nature. But you're not going to get it out by kicking it.
Well, how do we get it out?
They have
Fire
to.
Brigade's going to be here.
Yeah, their water slavers are going to let it out.
Narrow my eyes.
I think my favorite part of this is how fucking uptight these elves are about our shit.
I know.
Uh-huh.
I like that nobody's correcting him either.
I
Fuck
mean,
that.
luckily,
I'm
it's not my
unconscious.
problem.
Yep,
I mean, is it really the time to correct the gnome on how fire
Exactly.
hydrants work, though?
that's fair. That is fair.
Well, what if I cast a spell to try and make it explode?
No,
I,
that would be even worse.
the wood elf bodyguard kind of moves to your side and puts a hand on your shoulder, and he's like, "I don't think it's the time for any more explosions today."
Maybe alright.
And he kind of looks around and he says, "You, Stumpy One, are you in charge here?"
As in me.
Yes, you're the dwarf.
No. I'm just a cleric.
Well,
Well, who's in charge here?
just a cleric.
Sorry.
Yes. Ambassador Azali would like to speak to who's in charge. Go fetch them. We have grievances to air, as is assault
Very
upon the
grie-
Sainafig.
Well, Mistress Azalea, they're one of the ones in blue. I'd recommend go asking them.
Narrow my eyes at one of the ones in blue.
And you narrow your eyes and you see there is a combat medic and another officer in blue, in a blue cloak, standing over the unconscious Oswick, as well as a now seated and getting patched up Inspector Dalton. If you remember, he was the man who led the operation and who royally got his shit kicked in by Patches.
Stitches.
Sorry,
Yeah, I was
Stitches.
gonna say-
Stitches. I got you guys backwards. You're right, Stitches.
That's okay, I think we get them confused too.
It does take me a second.
Was
yes.
he like really obviously trying not to be a cop?
He was undercover, yes, and he got spotted pretty obviously as a narc. But he is currently.
Gee, I wonder what gave him away.
Yeah, he's currently seated on the side of the sidewalk, getting patched up and treated for his injuries, while with Oswick unconscious next to him.
Cool, I'm gonna go stamp up to the guy who's standing over Oswick, who is doing nothing.
Yep. And so as you and your entourage stomp their way up, the guard looks at you and he kind of like is taken aback for a moment at seeing a group of elves start to approach. And he kind of looks around and he's like, Inspector? And Dalton kind of looks up from his injuries and also kind of goes pale for a moment. He says, well, if you're not here to kill us, then I suppose the situation is serious.
Second wave.
Like, I'm about to speak, and then I think for a moment, not and I repeat those words in my head, not here to kill us, it might be serious. Like, what's more serious than getting killed?
Well, they've already
Welcome to politics.
And then, like, after that, I'm like, so you are in charge.
I'm in charge of this operation.
You realize my people and I almost got killed when a peaceful envoy.
I'm very sorry that you happened to be in the middle of this operation. We were told that your entourage would be traveling through the city. We had no idea you would be arriving in the pause. Why are you in the pause?
Why is your bridge not working?
He kind of like looks over to another officer who just shrugs. He looks back at you and he says, I don't know, infrastructure? There might have been repairs. I'm sorry that you all arrived here at this bad situation, but this was supposed to be a delicate operation handled by the Royal Guard, and it seems that your involvement didn't actually cause any real harm to you or yours. And yes, this is when the gnome chimes in again. He says, the hell it didn't! You guys got my car blown up! Who's gonna pay for my car?
What a fucking baby. Jesus.
Probably.
Patches is like, what a baby, we don't even have a car.
I'm going to require that the state of Raleigh provide us a vehicle and
you're not
more
going
clothes.
to get anything out of this officer. You'd have to speak to his uppers.
Well, who is his uppers?
Inspector Dalton kind of looks over and he frowns at the dwarf doing his job, but he also nods, acknowledging that yes, that is in fact true. That's unfortunately how the bureaucracy of this city works. And he says, I can get word to my superiors that there was an incident here involving your entourage, and we can have somebody come pick you up. You're supposed to be at the Ivory District, not this far east.
That's true. Also, I'd like to incite him to see if he's really sorry that we got involved.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's sorry he's having to deal with you.
It's a genuine mix of both. He's genuinely sorry that that you guys got involved. He wasn't expecting Santa Fate operatives and a diplomat to have been in the operation area. He's a little surprised and shocked that you guys got attacked at all, or that you intervened the way you had. He also is genuine about how unhappy he's going to be with all the paperwork he'll have to fill out, additional paperwork that will be involved because of this. And he looks like he's just in a mix of being genuine, frustrated at his work, and then just really still in a good bit of pain from the ass kicking he got.
Do I have any spell slots left?
I would imagine not. And there is a cleric tending to him, or a battle medic tending to him.
Okay. You don't cast Thunderwave.
Yeah, you don't cast Thunderwave. That's good. That's good. That's probably a smart idea. Because it would probably kill Oswick.
It'll knock me back into dying.
Yeah, it'd probably kill Oswick.
It's really easy to kill Oswick.
Did I mention this is Meat Grinder as well?
Oh,
No death curse,
Oswick on the
please.
ground.
Surprise, Keavah! Every game you join is me grinder.
Hey, at least he didn't die.
that's true.
At least he's a barbarian.
My minimum damage can kill Oswick. For
Yeah,
this.
there's a
All I have
sorcerer
to
and a
do is hit.
wizard that can be murdered in a turn.
That's true. He sneezed on Oswick wrong and he goes down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna...
I have the same amount of hit points as Patches, I think.
He's got one more.
Damn it.
gonna lean over to one of my entourage. I'm like,
Which one do you
"Are
lean
humans
towards?
normally that?" Oh shoot, notes. Where are you?
You have Kelris Ord, who is the High Elf, Valen Trakai, who is the Wood Elf, and then Alexandrite Celadon, who is the Gnome.
I'll lean over to.
That's a girl's name.
What's not? Fuck
Yeah.
you.
I'll lean over to the.
There's a gnome name.
The other wood elf, and I'm like, are humans normally that frail?
Valen kind of like gives one of those down his nose sneers at Inspector Dalton. He says, well, I didn't take part in the war myself, but I heard stories about the frailty of humans and how quickly they were turned. They had to use metal monstrosities to win most of their battles against us.
Do I know about these metal monstrosities?
You can make a history check. You know the name Warforged, but you do not. You think you were busy daydreaming that episode, or that lesson episode, flashback episode. Everyone.
Bloop. I'm just like sitting at my desk. I have, my personal tutor, and like I'm sitting there, and I have a storybook in front of my actual text.
Mm-hmm. Behind it, I would hope.
Behind it, yeah.
Drawing dicks in it.
Drawing dicks.
I mean,
in it.
what?
She's not Chester. Her mom's not a huge slut who gets banged out every night. I know what I said.
We could say that because Rez is AFK.
He's not even here to hear it? Aw. Rip.
I wish he was here.
So, how are we going to get to the Ivory District now?
As I said, I'll call for someone to come get you. And you see him take out a little stone that's carved with an arcane symbol that you recognize that serves as a message stone, and basically it allows people to communicate back and forth within the confines of the spell. And so he sends a word out and he says, "This is Dalton. We had a situation. The delegates from the Sainafate who are supposed to be in the Ivory District ended up here. Send a car." And he tucks it away and he says, "Well, they'll be arriving shortly. For now, I would suggest staying put and staying out of the way." And then he kind of looks down to Oswick, and one of the battle clerics hands him a canteen of water, and he takes a sip of it, and then he upturns the rest over Oswick's face. You have just been splashed with cold water.
Am I able to be conscious at 0 hit points?
Yes.
Okay.
You have been splashed with cold water.
Oh, what hit me? Alright. I am
Yes.
just gonna sit up and wipe blood from my face.
So you're the new officer I was expecting from the ARD.
You were expecting me?
This is where you're going to be working from now on, is it not?
I am in the Amberbright District, yes, but my assignment did not so much include details on this until my superior passed on a certain bit of information to me.
Well, we were expecting you. You want to care to explain to me what my subordinates were informing me about what happened before you were knocked unconscious?
The bit where I doused one of your men that was in fire, the bit where I shot one of the terrorists, or the bit where I frosted one of your men?
Yes, let's fast forward to the treasonous part.
Why are you helping him with the case of treason against you?
Because he had a good reason for it, and he's not that cool.
Let's fast forward to the treason.
Yes, well, I'm very sorry. I had no idea what was going on with your operation. And while I was trying to detain as many people as possible, I fear not all of those radical elements were part of the same organization. And I was just trying to, one, look out for their well-being, and two, I have a plan for tracking them, hopefully.
Explain.
I have a employee that was in the rally. She was unfortunately stirred up by the sudden confrontation and may have retreated with the Red Cloaks. I sent my own personal familiar, the little celestial weasel, with her. If I can keep in contact and they do not, and she can protect him, I can maybe converse with them and get a location. But I had to make sure they both got out safe.
I
So
see.
I had not intended for the man to get hurt. I just needed enough for people to get away.
And when you're like, yeah, this person who worked for me got riled up in the mix of it, you see one of the combat medics like inching away an injured guard, and you know, when he hears you say it, he goes, "The bitch hit me in the face with a brick."
Yeah, I don't. I'm very sorry. She seems very excitable.
It's true. Pomeranians are very excitable.
That's fair.
I would very much like to take full responsibility, but my reason for being here, and it's now he looks up, sees the elves, turns pale-faced.
Definitely been listening to this whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
They're the reason I
Delta
was
is
here.
also there.
Well, and this, and he reaches into his coat, rummages around, pulls out the magical newspaper his boss has handed him.
Mm.
What the hell do
And-
you have to do with me?
When you take out the newspaper, make an Arcana check real fast.
All right.
Okay.
Dude,
I'm still a bit concussed.
it's the one thing you're good at.
I am still a bit concussed, okay?
You hand over the newspaper and you have it set to the front page, and on the front page it says it's dated for tomorrow, and it says attack on factory in the Paws thwarted. Red Cloaks responsible for bomb detonation, many injured, several dead. Blue Cloaks intervened to intercept, and basically the picture at the front of it has
It
a picture.
changed, didn't it?
It has a number of individuals who are, you know, being covered up in like the white tarps and stuff, and it's like an exterior shot of the damage. But yeah, it's very much, Oswick doesn't pick it up, but for the camera and for the audience watching, it's not the same image anymore. It doesn't have the like horror or war photography of like injured people lying on the ground dead, and it doesn't have the very clear image of Penny also killed in the conflict. But you don't notice it as you pass off this newspaper, and Inspector Dalton takes the newspaper and he kind of looks it over and he says, "Huh, good news. Does it have the sports section on it too?" And he like starts looking through it.
I don't know, sir. I just... it gave me the information that there was going to be an attack down here. And it had been telling me there was, it had reactions from the elven diplomats, so I knew they were going to be around here. I was sent to escort you around, I say, looking up at the, elves. I'm not sure which one's the diplomat at this point, but I'm definitely looking at the elves and not the gnome.
Yeah.
There's
Give me
four people there, but he sees 8.
give me a wisdom check as you look over the 3 elves.
Wisdom 19.
You know that the delegate that was arriving was supposed to be female, so you had to give it a hard look and a squint between the 3 elves, and then you finally realized that this one with the dark hair. standing in front that has been talking to people. This must be the woman.
Arc and eyebrow.
I got it.
Hey, we got you.
So you're just supposed to. So you're the one who's supposed to make sure I don't get into any trouble. Like, and I like wave my
Gesture.
arm around and gesture to the car.
Be careful how you answer, Morph.
Look, that was very much out of my control. I knew there was something happening. I knew you were going to be here because of that, and I pointed at the newspaper again.
I look at the newspaper.
It
But
has no real indication of your involvement other than just saying that you arrived and were caught in the scene, and it doesn't give any indication that something bad was going to happen to you all. So it's kind of curious why he's looking at it.
I don't get it. What's it just says? Like, was I given the newspaper?
Yeah, he said he handed it over.
Oh, I like turn it around, keep reading Aurelian text, and
Am I able to
Just says-
actually see this now? If she's turning it over.
Yeah,
just says I
absolutely.
was in the area.
That
What did you guys get
Wasn't-
this out so fast?
that wasn't what I read before.
Why is this dated for tomorrow?
I'm from the magical department at Arcane Research and Defense. My superior is, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, a very skilled divination wizard. So I was thinking it was something he had managed to...
So your superior knew this was going to happen and let it happen.
I don't think that's how that works. He could predict it, but not stop it. Just
Well, if
like
he knew it was
I
going
could
to
predict
happen,
it. But look, the writing here, the picture, everything, it's all changed from what I read before. I was able to intervene, but not change everything. The text I had read, the image that was displayed, everything was going to be a lot worse.
I look at the picture, and is there how much detail is here?
It's not a lot. It's very much just a synopsis of what happened because it's the front page. So it's got a big picture and it's got the little blurb to get you interested, and then it says continue reading on section B7.
So I can't move a rock, and it doesn't
No.
change place in the picture.
Mm-mm. It is very much the Back to the Future photograph.
I look it over, toss the paper back to Oswick.
I just kind of limply catch it. Fumble with it a bit, probably. But yes, look, there was a very interesting conflict going through my head at the time because there was again the person I personally knew dead on the picture, and the whole reports coming in from you being at this incident. So everything just
Person-
kind of...
You said person you care about.
Yes.
So you came here to save her?
You see her eyes get the little Steven Universe stars. Save her?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes? I would rather... A great many people didn't lose their lives. Needlessly,
Oh.
but...
It's so romantic. Too bad you're human.
I beg your pardon? What's me being
Does she
human
like you
got to
too?
do? I don't know. I very much just met her this morning.
Has she... Oh, you just met her this morning.
You definitely know that's how love works in the storybooks.
It's true. At first sight. It's true. I'm definitely sold on this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while that's going on, can I try and make contact with Emerald?
Sure. Yeah, I think this would
That's
be
a fun segue.
yeah, this would be a good time to segue.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you do when you try and make contact with Emerald?
Wait a minute.
Wait,
We have had several minutes.
we
How
have.
do we know that little fucker's still around?
Well, we're gonna find out.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm gonna reach out and touch on our little psychic link, and I'm gonna try and be. Hey, Emerald, are you okay?
Why are you reaching out?
Yeah, and so as Ozzy disconnects from your guys' conversation to inwardly try and talk to his familiar, we see the camera cut away from the street and go down below, and the scene transitions to a number of people running through the sewers. Vix, Patches, Stitches, Penny, and Emerald on her shoulder. You're all running through a corridor within the sewers. Many of the red cloaks, had split off. You basically took the scatter tactics of they can't catch us all, and so you all went down different winding paths in the sewers. And so the group of you are now running down a section. And when Oswic's words hit Emerald's mind, he's like, "Yeah, boss, but we're still kind of running. It's kind of not a good time." And Penny looks up and she's like, "Who the fuck are you talking to?" And he's like, "Yipes!" And so Penny kind of skids to a stop, and with your connection, you see her pull Emerald off of her shoulder, and she's like holding him out in front of her. And she probably said it loud enough for everyone to hear. And she's like, "Who are you talking to? Are you talking to Oswick?"
I stop.
I also stop. Who the fuck is Oswick?
Yo, what the fuck's going on?
And Emerald kind of like paws up, kind of like he had hands, and he's just like, whoa, calm down, guys. We're all on the same side here. Familiar. We're all familiars here, remember? Bam, look. And he like blinks out of her hands and appears on Patches' head. And he says, "I'm not here to cause any trouble. I'm just here to keep an eye on the girl."
Do I believe him?
You can insight.
I'm so good at this.
You're so good at this. He sounds genuine in that he's here to look after Penny, but he's also not telling you everything.
Yep.
What's your name? Greenie?
I'm Emerald.
No, I'm just gonna call you Greenie, so don't worry about it.
Oh, well,
Yeah, we don't.
all right, bam.
We don't got
And
time
he,
for this.
and he poofs off of Patches' head, and he appears in Vix's coat. And he's like, "I'm just gonna stay here, where it's safe. I'm not gonna cause any trouble, I promise."
I'm gonna,
Okay, so
I'm gonna
quick
use
question.
hold on. I gotta use my telepathic link with my brother, and I'm just gonna say, yeah, fucking ice him. That's a snitch.
Fucking
Oh, he's
awesome.
absolutely a snitch. He's so snitchy that he's about to get stitchy.
Mm.
Nope, you're the one doing this. You're the one doing it, not me.
Why am I doing it?
Because
So,
I mean,
Penny,
have you
I
seen my
learned
hammer?
from you.
Penny marches up, and her like little poofy curled tail is like very much upright in that agitated form, and she pokes Emerald in his nose, which is conveniently sticking out of the blouse of Vix, who looks also very annoyed and has a knife pointed at the little familiar. She says, "You tell Oswick that we are. What are we doing?"
Who the hell are you?
It's none of his business. No, that's the little
You-
look. She's fine. She's been throwing bricks and shit.
You
It's
tell
been good.
Oswick
Emerald's
that
been
what's
helping.
going on is none of his business. And more importantly, I might be late for work tomorrow.
Yeah, And then
Am
say,
I hearing
"Do it,"
all
in my-
this?
in my
Yeah,
telepathy.
she's communicating to Oswick, and you're looking through his eyes, I assumed. And he's just kind of like, did you get all that, boss?
There's the do it on repeat in telepathy.
Do it.
He is literally in front of Vix. I can't shoot him.
Are you that bad of a fucking shot?
But what if
Well-
I glorious?
All right, look. Here's the deal. Here's how this is gonna go down. Either you shoot him with your little magic pew pew beam. I'm gonna take out Crunchy, and they're both gonna break a hip.
Well, hey, guys. There's no reason to
This is
get.
my
There's no reason.
This is
Yeah,
telepathy.
but
Noodle
he's also like looking at the subtle like head cues of you guys having this
That's
argument,
fair.
Yeah,
and,
that's fair.
and he like paws up again, and he's like, "Hold on, guys, hold on. I was there to help too. Remember, I latched onto that guard's face and I scratched him up real good to let you guys get out. I'm not up to
Emerald,
any."
remind them I let them get away.
Yeah.
Help
My
them get away.
boss wants to point out that he helped you guys get away too. He
You're
stopped.
communicating with him?
Of course he's
Oh.
Nope.
And he's just.
I look at Vix, point, and say, "Do it," because I'm sure she'll do it.
I'm gonna pew pew.
All right, hold on.
Yeah. Fuck him up.
She's gonna roll to execute your familiar.
I'm gonna pew pew. I'm gonna hit him with a ray of frost.
You're gonna hit Vix.
Yeah,
Probably.
go ahead and roll for
It's
me, buddy.
fine.
Let's see
Can I
what you.
just send him back to his pocket dimension?
Oh,
You
I
are
think
probably too far for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd pop him too.
Yeah, and so he's like, yeah, my boss wanted me. Like, I'm gone, and he just poofs, and you feel the disconnect.
Oh, well, that's going to be expensive.
I just kind of sigh and say, "I fucking hate scabs."
And Penny kind of looks, and she's like, but did she tell him I was going to be late for work tomorrow?
I don't think he said that part. No.
Yeah,
She's-
I mean, hey, look at it this way. Maybe you just, you don't worry about that so much, and we just keep running. Let's keep running.
What does your boss do?
She kind of gives one of those looks, and she's like, well, that's not really important.
It's really super important.
Hey,
Oh, come on.
hey,
Joe.
remember that brick I put to a blue cloak's face? That's definitely not what a scab would do.
I don't know.
Uh,
That sentence right there is pretty much what a scab would say, though. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is it though, or would a scab be trying to like definitely tell you that they're on your side? Because I'm more worried about not getting like knifed or ray of frosted. Because I was definitely down with the revolution and burning it all to the ground and fuck the
Yeah.
proletariat.
Yeah, I like you. You're good. I just don't know if I believe you or not.
she looks very nervous that you offed one of Ozzy's workers, and since she also established that she was a worker for Ozzy, she's very much just trying to not get herself killed at this point.
All right, so here's how we're gonna play this out, and don't try to be cute because we're kind of stocked up on that in case you haven't noticed. And he just
I don't know. I mean, she's real good at it, though. Like, she's got like
yeah,
a little
and-
tail.
Vix also kind of chimes in and is like, I don't know, she's kind of got the cute down.
Yeah, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
see,
all
there we
right.
go.
That's no fair because she's a fucking Pomeranian and I'm a rodent.
Hmm.
What are you talking about? I'm fucking adorable.
All right.
She says,
You know
smiling with one tooth missing.
Yeah, what tooth? Fucked. I'm covered in blood.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Bitch, I'm
okay.
adorable.
All right, so we are going to blindfold you.
Oh, you want me to
Yeah.
carry her? I can carry her. I flex.
I mean, yeah, I could probably carry her. She looks like she's 10 pounds soaking
Nah,
wet.
I'm a carrier.
I wasn't offering, I'm just saying.
All right, look here. You tie the knot thing, and I'll carry her.
Why are you trying to make this a teamwork thing?
Because we just blew up a building.
All right, that's
By the
fair.
way, who blew up the building though? That was like real convenient.
Are you fucking serious right now?
Vix also kind of blinks at you and she says, you know that wasn't a hat, right?
What hat?
Oh my god. This is why we shouldn't get blackout drunk the night before we do shit.
Hmm. Right. Well, it's going to be this way.
Fuck
And
it, yeah,
she's
we gotta go. Yeah, we gotta go. Fuck it. Yeah.
so yeah. You guys quickly take the time to secure Penny. You blindfold her. You chuck her over Stitch's shoulder, and she probably isn't more than 100 pounds because she is just a tiny ball of fury.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. So you chuck her over easily, and she's like, "This really isn't necessary."
Now, if you keep that up, we will move on to phase 2, which is gagging. And I would like to point out that the only cloth that I have accessible for it will be coming from, I don't know, some shit that I dunk in the sewer water.
I'll be quiet.
Yeah.
All right, let's move then.
Solid. All right, Vix, let's get the fuck out of here.
You guys
Where
are
we?
awful.
They're terrorists, of course they are.
We just killed a whole bunch of people. We ain't got time for niceties.
Yeah.
They didn't have names.
We're gonna have to. Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna have to start calculating all that experience for all these dead villagers. Congratulations, you're 3 levels higher than everyone else for mass murder.
And this is
People
why
say
my
that.
episode is better.
Renegade for life.
Yeah, renegade.
More XP.
Yeah, all right, go.
Yeah.
We start
So you guys take off. It is one of you. Does either of you have survival?
Survival?
Yeah.
No.
No.
All right. Give me just a flat d20 roll.
Ooh. But if this, does this have to do with finding passages? Like, are we trying to figure that out?
No, it's just navigating the sewers.
Oh, well then, city secrets are my background
Oh,
feature.
fuck yeah.
Should
you got?
be able
Fuck
to do that.
yeah!
What you got? What does city secrets do?
You know the secret patterns and
Hey, nobody's
Yeah,
talking to you,
yeah.
Ark.
You know the secret patterns and flow to cities and can find passages through the urban sprawl that others would miss. When you are not in combat, you and companions you lead can safely travel between any 2 locations in the city twice as fast as your speed would normally allow.
Great. So that's not going to get you navigating perfectly, but it will get you there faster. So just give me a flat d20 roll, and let's see how well you guys can navigate with
Can
Vix.
I assist him?
Yes, you can roll it with advantage, because Vix is also going to be like, I pretty much know these passages.
I know exactly what street we're on.
14. So, yeah, yeah, and basically that's kind of what it is. Like, the smell is throwing off your senses as familiars, but with the 3 of you kind of navigating and Patches taking the lead, it doesn't take long for you guys to wind through the sewers for probably about an hour. And before long, you guys reach another like manhole cover and a ladder. And she says, "I think this is the spot." And she climbs up first, and she gives it the manhole a nudge and lifts it up and slides it aside. And she pokes her head up and looks around, and she's like, "Coast is clear. Come on up."
Alright. Yeah, I go up first.
Yep. And so, give me just an athletics, because I'm assuming you're trying to do this while carrying, and then you're going to scoot her up first. Yeah, no problem. You get this easy, then you push her up, and then you get up there as well. Everybody else climbs up the ladder, no problem, because it's a ladder. And so you find yourselves on the streets, but it's not the Pause district anymore. It looks like at some point you guys had gone under the river and had ended up in a new district, and it doesn't look familiar because the 2 of you probably had never left the Pause.
I am unsettled and a little nettled.
Yeah, the fuck's going on? Where we at?
This is the Alabaster District. We're going to meet a contact where we can lay low for a while.
That is a stupid name for a district, and I live in the
Agreed.
fucking Pause.
I mean, but that makes sense though, because familiars, and then you got pauses, and it's so charming. You want to stop and take a pause. And, you look at it. It's good.
Is there a lot of marble here?
As a matter of fact, it does look like the architecture in this area has a very It looks like I'm trying to think of what the architecture style is called, but like think of like the architecture that would be in like downtown Washington D.C. where all the federal buildings are. where it has that like Greco-Roman
Romanesque,
pillar,
yeah.
and then it has just the very much concrete buildings. But these are it's just a very much foundation of stonework, and then these columns, and very just, you know, our fancy federalist looking, you know, kind of state. And so
Our columns are fluted.
yeah, fluted columns.
Shit. This is not the worst name for a place, because the architecture makes sense. Damn it.
Yeah. All right, we're following your lead, Vix. I guess. Are we taking this one? I pointed Penny.
It would be
I mean,
unfortunate.
I'm fine either way. I don't, you know.
It'd be unfortunate to dump her now, and I liked her moxie.
Yeah, she definitely bricked the guy.
She's like,
She break the guy in the face.
she's like, it's
yeah,
true.
kill
I got spirit.
It's true. She do got spirit. I pat her on the back.
She threw the familiar at someone else's head.
She also threw that one guy, you know, the little guy that I killed, like temporarily killed.
Yeah, you didn't actually kill him. You just sent him back to. But you know,
I know how it works.
Okay.
I am a fucking familiar.
It doesn't work the same way for us. We actually die.
That's very true. Can't
you
confirm.
Okay, how can you confirm? Have you ever died?
We have definitely seen familiars die, and they definitely ain't come back. They
We are in fact orphans. We can confirm the familiars die.
We have in fact seen dead familiars before. I'm just saying.
Why you gotta make me fucking sad?
Cause you
Look,
asked.
Look,
Why
we
did
know
I
this is-
ask?
I don't know. We
Why
have
did
some
I ask?
destructive personalities, probably due to a lack of home of a home life. Either way, can we get out this alley, please?
Yeah, and so you guys come up out of an alley, and you walk down a few streets, and you do it kind of casually, which does turn a little bit of attention because the street's not empty. But you guys do your best to look nonchalant. Are you still carrying Penny, by the way?
Nah. Did anyone stop me?
Nobody has.
Did Vix or Patches stop me?
So this is not this is like where the humans live, right? Like this is not familiar.
This is
place.
not familiar territory. This is where regular people live.
You should probably put it down. You're just gonna draw notice. I mean, it's not like we're gonna be not noticed, considering we are in fact many familiars.
Yeah, right. That's fair. I put her down. I take her blindfold off.
Oh, thanks. That was gonna be real awkward walking down the street with like that.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, don't run, cause like I like you, and I'm already on the run. And if I gotta bap you and then be on the run again, that's like too much math.
She kind of like looks around at you guys, and she's like, "Why would I run? I came with you."
I got a lot of questions, like where we at. But either way, hey, let's go to a safe house.
We're in the Alabaster place.
Yep. And so you guys walk for a little bit. It does attract attention that there are a number of familiars walking down the street. But before long, you round another corner and you see that there is a club situated here at this corner. And it is a very obvious and well advertised. It's got like neon signs and stuff, and basically the sign says the sign says Vesuvius. It's a hell of a nightclub underneath with like the little like flickering neon text, and there's a martini glass with a succubus laying inside of the glass. And like the little like neon animation has her like feet kicking.
Ooh, we're gonna get spooky wasted.
I don't
Alright, let's
think
do it.
we should probably not get wasted, at least until we're sure that we are not being followed.
Yeah, alright, that's fair. Let's go inside.
And then we can get drunk.
Hey, Vix, this is the place? I'm guessing this is the place? We're not just, like, stopping off for a drink? Because, I mean, if we're stopping off for a drink, that's fine. I just need to know what we're doing.
This is the place.
Sweet.
And so I hope everyone will be on their best behavior. This is a contact and close ally for the Red Cloaks, and I don't want us to leave a bad impression while we're laying low.
So when you say best behavior,
Yeah, that's yep.
Do you
What,
mean our best in terms of what we are currently capable of doing, or are you asking for like that obscure 110% kind of thing?
I definitely want you to go beyond plus ultra.
Got it. All right, because like if there's demons in there, that's fine. But like I'm covered in blood, and if somebody looks at me sideways, I can't. Look, these hands is rated E for everybody, so I just
That
jokes on you. This isn't a demon nightclub. It's actually a vampire one, and you just made yourself the main course. No, you just made yourself the main course. Like
I'm covered in blood. It's not my fault.
This is the opening scene to Blade. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I got the shit beat out of me. I've been shot multiple times.
Are you? Also, fuck you, sis. I'm literally dying right here.
All right. Well, first of all, I got like 3 bullets in me. Okay, and I'm starting to feel them. It's kind of hurting a little bit, but also, yes, I'm very glad you're safe. And I like pat him on top of the head and like look him over, like spin him around, and then like spin him back to me, and then like lick my hand, which is bloody, and then like rub some dirt off of his cheek. I'm like grab him like by the side of the head.
That is not. You've actually made it worse.
Yeah, I think so. Did not think that one through.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah.
And so you take a moment to spruce yourselves up, and even Penny kind of like adjusts herself after having been carried for quite a while, and she's like, "All right, well, I promise to be well behaved."
Same. Yeah. Thumbs up.
And so you guys kick open the doors, not literally, but it opens up and it shows the interior of this nightclub. I'm going to switch the music over. No?
Sorry, did you want to repeat?
No? Play. There we go. Alright, so the interior of the club shows that it's got that Art Deco style where it's got a lot of sharp angles and gold trim with a lot of red carpeting and along the walls and everything. Everything looks like just a parlor of sin. There are various private booths scattered around. There's a bar right up front, and then there's a bar further back. There's a stage for a big band and a performer to go up and sing. There's a like tiny space for a dance floor. And it looks like it's very much well maintained, and there's a number of waitresses who walk around, and they're dressed in flapper attire, where it's very much the single dress, and it's got a scandalously short skirt, and they've got the beaded jewelry and the little headbands with the feathers, but they also have like little tails and little bat wings on as well, and they're walking around serving drinks, and their little like flapper headgear have little horns poking out of them, or maybe it's their horns, you don't know, who knows. But there's very much a theme going on here in Vesuvius. But as they're moving around, you guys make your way inside, and you see that the people here don't seem to be looking in your direction. They're fixated on whatever they're doing in their various tables and booths. As you walk past someone, they don't acknowledge that you're a familiar, which probably is stranger than if they had, acted like you were in their way and they were disgusted at seeing you, because that's probably what you're used to seeing. But these people don't pay you any mind. Vix is taking the lead, and they're just kind of like parting as you guys are coming through, or they're not looking in your direction. And you make your way to a booth in the very back. It goes up a little bit of flight of stairs because it's on like a little raised platform where you guys can sit and see the rest of the area. And when you arrive, you see that Mr. Peanut Butter is sitting at the booth, and there's another individual who's sitting there with him. This gentleman is finely dressed. He's got a black pinstripe suit with a nice red vest, and he's got like a little gold handkerchief tucked into one of the pockets. He's got a hat that matches it, and that's currently off and set on the table. He's got like dark curly hair that frames the side of his face, and he's got just a very sharp angular features, and it's all topped off with like a nice well-trimmed short thin beard that comes out to where it would form into a goatee, and that extends out just a little bit and curls. And he's holding a glass, and it's got a green substance in it, and he kind of gives it like a swirl, and the like little martini rock that you use to keep these spirit type drinks cool swishes about. And anybody who wants to could give me a quick perception check.
Sure, I'd love to.
You're not there.
On it. Let me perceive. If I could get. Oh man.
You both catch sight of the like martini rock that's in there. It's actually carved in the shape of a skull, which is like one of those like, ooh, this might be a bad guy kind of hints, because nobody just does that. Not normal people. And he kind of swirls it around, and he looks and he says, "Mr. Peanut Butter, are these your friends you were telling me about?" Mr. Peanut Butter's like, "Yeah, absolutely. These are the guys. They're pretty swell. I had them deliver the hat box for the operation, and let me tell you, the party was a blast." And he kind of winks in your direction.
I also wink, very noticeably. Just like the full like head turn, like shoulder into it thing.
And
yeah, speaking of that, that I think that that hat probably didn't do so good. So like, I don't know. I don't want to like gauge how like important it was to you that it was safe. But there was like an explosion and shit. So it's probably pretty fucked up.
Mr. Peanut Butter looks to Vix, and he gives, probably obvious to everyone else, a like feigned shock face, and he says, "My word,
Yeah,
it was."
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what, Stitches, don't worry about that hat at all. It was a gift for a friend, and as long as they received it before any unpleasantries happened, I'm happy nonetheless.
All right, solid.
And Vix kind of looks over to the two gentlemen, and she says, "We weren't able to get inside the factory, though. The Blue Cloaks were waiting for us," and the other gentleman raises a hand. He says, "Don't worry about that. Those things happen. News slips through the cracks, and the ARD are on top of things, as it seems. What matters is you were able to shake things up. Isn't that right?" Miss Peanut Butter's like, "Yep. Shaking things up really gets people's attention. And regardless of what happened, we're going to be in the news. Everyone's going to take the Red Cloak seriously. You guys are to be commended."
That's good. Yeah, like
pretty
there was
awesome.
yeah, we did pretty good. I mean, I beat the shit out of like 4 Blue Cloaks.
That's good.
and- yeah, I've been like shot. I got like holes in me. Do you guys got like a towel? Maybe like a napkin?
And the man who's been drinking from the glass kind of smiles, and he says, "We have a place for you to get yourself cleaned up. I wouldn't want you attracting any unwanted attention here in the club." And he kind of chuckles, and Mr. Peanut Butter chuckles, and the waitress who
I also
walks by chuckles
I'm
as well.
also chuckling.
Everybody starts chuckling, and Penny kind of like Penny does the heavy thing where she kind of looks around and nervously chuckles, like, I don't know what's going on. It's like,
Exact same energy.
yeah, and everybody gets kind of.
And then I telepathy to Stitches, and I'm like, okay, now we're gonna menacingly turn to Penny.
Yeah, all right. I'm menacingly turned to Penny.
Yeah, and then the wall laugh while going, then we all turn to Penny.
And the two of you menacingly turn to Penny, and that kind of puts her in the spotlight. And so Mr. Peanut Butter raises an eyebrow, and he says, "And who is this?"
She bricked the guy.
She bricked the guy. It's true, but also we're like, I don't know, a lot % sure she might be a knock, but not as much as the other guy who we axed.
Yeah, we totally killed a guy.
I mean, we killed a lot of guys, but there was a familiar, but not like us, like one of those little fuckers. And he dropped down into the sewers with us. And then he was clearly talking to some guy. I think it was the smelly ginger that was up on the road that I told not to fuck with me, but then he fucked with me. So, you know, my mistake.
Is Oswick ginger? Because that picture definitely looks blonde.
That was blonde.
It's entirely
I was
possible.
seeing
Okay.
red.
Okay, I was like, did the artist who is in this game mess up his own?
Misidentify
Okay.
him because my character is dumb.
Gotcha. On the same page, because I was like, that's gonna be real awkward when I point this out.
Yeah, low wisdom, low int.
Yep. And so Peanut Butter glances over to Vix, and he's like, "Is this going to be a problem?" And you see her immediately like reach for a knife in her sleeve, and she's like, "Not if you don't want it to be." And the other man kind of like holds up a hand, and he's like, "I don't know. Let's see where this goes." And he says, "You bricked someone?" And she's like, "Yes, sir. Bricked him good. I kind of got caught up in the moment. I was." And he's like, "What were you doing there?" And she was like, I was there protesting anyways. I think that the plight of our people is something to be fought for." And Peanut Butter like you see his ears perk up, and his tail is definitely wagging. And he's like,
Yeah, come on, PB.
and he's like, "Well, I like her fire. This is good." And he kind of like snaps for one of the waitresses, and a half-elven girl dressed up in the like little succubus flapper outfit walks over to you, Stitches, and he says, "Take our friend here to the back and get her cleaned up. Get her some new clothes. Take care of her." And she says, "Absolutely, sir." And she gives you like a quick curtsy, and she's like, "Come on, doll."
Sweet.
I
like
am literally about to
both
die,
arms.
and she fucking gets the
Like
all-star
fist
treatment.
She's covered in blood.
I'm so bloody.
I have 1 health.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's not my blood. I mean, it's mine now. I'm keeping it. But like,
It's mine now,
before-
I'm keeping it. Yeah. So you get taken back, and basically she does in fact give you the good treatment. She helps clean you up. She finds some clothes. Basically, she leads you back into what is a Red Cloak safe house. It's just a place. There's like a couple of beds, and there's some clean clothes and supplies that you can restock on here. And so she's just like, the bath's over there. You can wash up yourself unless you need me to get you back or something. And she smiles.
I'm just like looking around, really impressed with this room.
It's a very nice room.
Yeah.
It's a nice safe house.
Yeah, this is fucking class. Nah, I'm good. Thank you. Do me a solid. Don't kill my brother.
I wouldn't dream of it. I'm not gonna take his soul neither. And she winks at you.
Hey, do like the double thumbs up. I mean, you can fucking try, but he's kind of a pussy. You know, I mean, go give it a shot. It'll be good. He's a good boy. He's a good boy.
Challenge accepted. And she like skips her way out.
What did you do?
I just telepathy patches, and I just say you're welcome, and then that's it.
Yeah, and as that happens, you guys are kind of gathered around, and the other gentleman who still hasn't introduced himself is kind of just like, you're not looking too good either, sport. And it's about this time that the waitress comes back, and she says she's gonna get it taken care of herself. Is that all right? And he kind of nods, and he says, "Well, how about this one? He's not looking too good." And she's like, "Oh yeah, your sister told me about you. She said I should take good care of you. Is that all right, boss?" And she kind of like wraps herself around your arm and leans in close.
I am slightly uncomfortable.
And he nods, and he says, "Get him cleaned up. Another change of clothes for him as well would do nicely. He's going to be staying here. I don't want them smelling. No offense, of course."
It's only, I mean, as long as you're not offended that I think you're a creepy fuck guy.
He's like, well, you're in my club, so I at least admire your honesty while you're staying here under my watchful safety and protection.
I have lost a lot of blood today.
That's noted. And she says, "Don't worry, doll. I'm going to take good care of you." And
Okay.
you are entitled to a quick perception check as you're being dragged off, if you like.
Hey, why are we going towards that room that has the dungeon equipment in it? Oh.
As she says she's going to take good care of you, you see that Vix has flushed a little bit and is like looking off to the side, trying to hide her annoyance. But you're quickly dragged off by this waitress, and she doesn't take you to the safe room. Instead, kind of like as you're like, wait, this isn't the direction you took my sister, and you're pulled down a different corridor, and basically you see like there's a sign hanging there that says like staff room, and she's like, no, we're gonna come down here. I figured your sister wants her privacy while she takes a bath.
I gotcha.
She also said I could keep
I
the
actually
soul.
like the fox. Okay, well, fuck you, sis. First of all.
And
Second of all, I'm gonna politely but firmly decline because I have a lady friend that I like.
who says, oh, that's sweet. You're sweet. And she like brushes her fingers through your hair, and she's like, you don't need to worry about anything like that. Ain't looking for any.
I feel
I'm
that
not looking for any sort of commitments. Just gonna make you comfortable. And so she takes you inside, and she does help get you undressed despite your protesting, and she patches you up, and she's probably very forward.
he'll accept the help, but he will not pursue anything with her.
Are you sure? We don't have to tell. Nothing in
I-
Vesuvius ever leaves Vesuvius.
First of all, my sister constantly looks inside of my brain, so she would know. Second of all,
That's weird. You're funny.
yeah, I'm a funny guy. That's what people say.
It's like about this time that Stitches just like pops up in his head and it's just like, yo, this bath is fucking class.
Yep, you got like oils and some candles and bubbles. Fucking bubbles.
It's fucking bubbles.
That's great, sis. By the way, thanks for telling someone that they could have my soul.
I mean,
You
it was a
didn't need it,
metaphor.
do you?
You know, we're siblings. We share a soul. That's how it works. Or we're
Yeah.
twins, or some shit
totally,
like that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I'm fine, so I know you're fine, so it's fine.
Enjoy your bath.
Oh, yep, doing that. Alright, bye. I hang up.
Alright, bye.
I forgot what I was saying to you.
He just like gets that fucking that's so Raven look.
It just zones out like,
Staring off blankly into the distance. Whew.
Well, I suppose. And by time you like unbrain meld, you see that she's like busy undoing the belt and just unceremoniously tugs the trousers, and she's like, we still gotta get you out of these clothes.
that is fair.
And I'm just
I'll get new clothes on.
Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and make a roll real quick. And she kind of like doesn't subtly peek as she helps you out of the trousers and stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that.
Yep. And afterwards, she's just like, well, if you're certain.
I is. Not that I don't appreciate the intent. I don't know.
Well, it's your loss. And she picks herself up and she kind of like adjusts the little wings on her dress and fixes her hat. And she says, but in case you were wondering, I was going to rock your world. And she heads out the door.
I live in the pause. That's not exactly hard to do.
Nope, it sure ain't. But hey, since we're at about the halfway point and we've had a good bit of exposure for everyone, I think it's about time we take our break. We're going to take 5 minutes.
Yay.
We're going to take 5 minutes to do this, and I am going to run since he's also here to appreciate it, I'm going to run the advertisement for With Advantage. This is going to be a charity event that's coming up in November that PartyWipeGames is going to be taking a part of. I encourage everyone who's watching to take part of it as well when it comes up. We're going to have 2 shows going on during the event, so stick around. I'm going to pull it up right now, and I'm also going to mute the chat so nobody else will be heard, and I'll come back. It's gonna run for 5 minutes. And so that'll be when our break ends too, guys.
Okay.
All right, going on break.
All right.
So, what is With Advantage? With Advantage is a charity event hosted right here at Forgebreaker and put together by some pretty amazing individuals that cover the D&D and tabletop RPG communities. And it's a means for us to spotlight those that we have lost or have been affected by Alzheimer's or dementia. This event is also a way to bring the community together to raise awareness and, of course, money for Alzheimer's research through the Alzheimer's Association. On November 4th through the 8th, our players will participate in a series of one-shots, a bunch of 3-hour events with one specific goal in mind, celebrating those affected by this disease. And for every $10 donation, our players will earn advantage tokens, which they can use at any time to benefit themselves and their party, and to solve puzzles and have fun and enjoy this game that we love, and do so with advantage. But that's not really why we're doing this. We're doing this to raise awareness to a very serious condition that affects more than 5.8 million Americans every year, and to raise money for research into a cure so that someday we'll be celebrating our first Alzheimer's survivor. In fact, why don't you check out this video, which really puts things into perspective of just how deeply this disease touches the lives of people all over the world. This event is something that's become very personal to me and those who signed up to participate as well. For me, it was my father and my grandmother, both taken by dementia, and I saw firsthand with my father watching as his health declined and everything that he was would slowly deteriorate. It was the most helpless feeling I've ever experienced in my life. And knowing there was nothing I could do to save him didn't help. But that's why we're here doing this. We've added some incredible sponsors to our event and brought in some veterans of D&D and tabletop RPGs to bring something truly unique and something that touches so many of our lives, and to celebrate those that we love and our families. So with that, we ask that you tune in November 4th through the 8th from 4 p.m. until 1 a.m. every single night for With Advantage, so that maybe someday we can find a cure for this disease so we don't have to do this anymore.
Hey guys, Rin here. I'm going to just chime in for a real quick second before I bring us back to the show. With Advantage is going to be an important fundraiser that we are happy to be taking part of as well. Much like Forge himself had shared, I've lost a member of my family to this disease as well, and it is a very tragic thing to experience, and it's why I'm very much doing everything I can to help promote this. So I do encourage everybody to mark down their calendars November 4th through the 8th, 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It would mean a lot to the PartyWipeGames family if you all could attend and show support in any way you can, even if it just means helping spread the word and telling other people about this event that's going on. It is super important, and everything that is done towards this event will help ensure that, the impact of it is lessened for generations to come. That's all. Thanks. I'm going to bring us back, Karen. Alrighty. I'm back. How is everybody?
Good. I have a question, though.
I might have an answer.
So, since firearms are more readily available,
Yes.
what sub-races get that as part of their weapon training?
It counts as
none,
it counts as martial weapon training. It's not a racial weapon. I think if I was going to give it to anybody, like as a race, it would probably be dwarves and gnomes, since they're mechanically inclined.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask is that because, wood elves, for example, will have wood elf weapon training, which is short bow, long sword.
Yeah,
short
it's
sword,
it's fundamentally it's a carryover from older editions where various races had specialized weapons that they could have. Dwarves have it, and I think half-orcs have it too. It's one of those things, but like I said, I would probably just group it into dwarves and gnomes since they're the most mechanically sound. And it would probably be like the same way like the wood elf one works, where the wood elf one is different from the high elf, where it would just be rock gnome and probably just all dwarves, because all dwarves are industrious.
I can use guns.
I mean, everyone can use guns if you have martial weapon training. It's just, you as a cleric, you can also use a gun because you're a dwarf. You just get that shit. You know how it works.
Yeah, that's why I'm using a warhammer.
I mean, that's fine. You can use a warhammer. You're a forge cleric. It's thematically appropriate.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't normally get into it, but dwarven combat training.
Mm-hmm.
I get warhammers.
Warhammer.
God.
Anywho, this brings us back to the scene. I think we're gonna pause on the club at Vesuvius, and we'll segue back. So my real question is, Oswick has basically introduced himself as a person who was supposed to intervene on behalf of the Sanafate operatives. Does Deldra do anything to kind of integrate herself with what's going on too?
I mean, she was just kind of saying her piece to the... She probably said her piece to the officers about what Oswick did.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's just kind of been standing around making slightly snarky comments.
Okay. It's not long after the call had gone out from Officer Dalton that a car does pull up, and it is surprisingly they scrambled and got together a nice car, but it's a big, luxurious looking one Unfortunately, it doesn't have that sleek elven style where it just integrates itself into the road. It very much is on wheels, and it looks like it's elemental powered, which has Alexandrite scoffing again. He's like, "See? More elemental slavery, I told you!" And they offer you seats in the back, and then they look to Oswick and Deldra, and they say, on behalf of the Rallian royal family, you are invited to the Ivory District to make a statement and receive commendations for your heroic intervention in light of this attack.
Were we able to salvage anything from the car after the fire was put?
That's a great question. Give me a D100. Nope, it's gone.
Okay.
Yeah, all your stuff. The things you packed are basically just whatever you have on you is what you've got, and like your luggage of clothes and makeup and anything you brought expecting to live here for a time are all gone.
There's just like a shot of Osley kind of like staring at the wreckage, and you can see it. You can see her just has that slightly pouty face, with like a camera shot that just like shoots straight through the doorways, the empty doorways.
And Alexandrite comes and stands next to you, and he reaches up, puts a hand on your arm, and he's like, "I know, it was a great car."
Yeah.
Well, their box on slavery is here. If you wanted to go, we can get on the road.
Right. Okay.
Right. Great. And don't worry, we're gonna be with you. We're gonna make sure nothing bad happens. And if they're trying to walk us into a trap, don't worry, I got this. And he pats the side of his coat. He gives you finger guns.
Appreciate it. I'm out of magic.
I assure you, there's no such thing going on.
Oh, yeah, that's good to hear. Guy who got knocked out by the lass you're sitting next to. That's really reassuring that no sneaky operations are going on here as you guys are turning on each other.
Yeah,
you see him crawl up into a seat and sit. He's like,
yes,
I'm
because
definitely.
We have full control over terrorist elements. That's great.
Well, you know who does have full control over, terrorist elements and doesn't have to deal with insurrection and terrorism? The Saint of Fate. He looks out the window.
Somewhere
Yes,
far
because
away.
they're so much more ethical than us.
Somewhere far away, Arissa just looks up and is like, "What?"
Your iron-fisted empress, sure.
Yeah, and then as you guys are yeah, because you guys are so much better. The two other elves file in and they sit on either side of Asley, and they're like, as a matter of fact, yes. Do you want us to regale you in all the reasons why we're superior?
I would love to, but I have a wand call to make.
No, I'd rather stay awake right now. I don't need you to boil me to death.
Damn!
Is that some kind of obscure euphemism?
I reach into my coat, pull out my wand of sending that the director gave me.
Now,
And
hold
I'm
on,
going
everyone,
to-
while I whip this out.
Yeah, he whips out his wand and makes a private call in the car with everyone. No, go ahead. It's fine.
Yeah. I point it directly at my throat, cast sending, and send the message. Director Proudbloom.
God, he's gonna kill himself.
I've made contact with the dignitary. The incident has been lessened, but the Red Cloaks escaped. You may respond to this message.
It doesn't take long, and he says, Oswick, good. I was just receiving reports. Well done. Bit, laissez-faire with your approach, but we kind of do encourage such a thing here at the ARD. It's good that you didn't receive any lasting injuries. That black eye should clear up soon.
What black eye?
And you look in the mirror and you realize that you do in fact have a Warhammer
I probably
sized.
broke his fucking nose.
Yeah,
Oh,
you have
buddy.
you have a Warhammer sized black eye and there's like a good sizable dent where it had struck your nose as well.
I'm assuming at this point I've recovered some HP.
Yes, you're at 1 HP.
Okay. I guess that's some.
It's not like you're going to get into combat with the elves on the other side of the car or anything.
Are you?
No, unthinkable.
They're not murderers, unlike the evil humans.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't think I murdered anyone.
Well,
It's
you're
why the
you're a
humans
dwarf.
took most of the casualties, I think.
You're right. I am a dwarf. I'm tired.
But yeah, you all load up into the car, and Oswick is communicating with a wand. You don't hear the other side of his message, but you guys get on the road and you start driving. And the driver up front doesn't say anything, but as you're all piled in, the two elves do look to Asley and say, "Well, I suppose it can't be helped that they're going to be here with us, but keep in mind that once we arrive, you do need to go and present yourself to the royal family immediately. I would recommend doing it before these two." He kind of glances over at them. And step forward as well. It's a lesser task, and we're behind schedule.
So it seems.
It can't be helped. Human politics as it is. It's not like they intended for us to be down there.
I suppose not.
He-
And I'm speaking in Elvish.
They are, in
And
fact,
I'm also.
they are talking in Elvish, but they are making eye contact with them. Like they're doing that thing where it's very obvious that they are talking in another language that they assume you can't understand, and they're basically talking about you two.
Yeah, but I would like to make an insight check to see if their expressions denotes that they do understand what we are.
Sure. Do either of you speak Elven?
Yes.
No, but I'm keeping a straight face.
Oh, Oswick, you are doing a good job looking like you do not understand what they're saying, or at least not keeping up with the conversation. So, Asley, you don't think that they understand.
All according to plan.
I don't think they're very I do not think they are as educated either.
No, I hear the education system within the city is atrocious. Most of them barely know how to actually conduct magic. Did you see the way that one was throwing around his spells earlier?
Yeah, he
At this
hits one of
point,
his
I'm
own
gonna-
people.
I'm going to pull out my spell book and start reading through it.
Oh, how cute. He has pictures in it.
The magic misto goes zap.
There may not actually be pictures in Oswick's book, but he is just very much taking the piss out of him.
Oh yeah, mental notes. Which one is this?
This is the blonde high elf.
Let's see. Notes. High elf is a prick.
And
Got it.
you guys are in the car for roughly the same hour that it takes that it took the familiars to reach Vesuvius, and you travel over another large bridge. Excuse me. You travel over another large bridge that takes you into another district that's called the Ivory District, and this is basically the seat of power within the city. It has several large estates and space dedicated to parks and various higher nobility type of buildings within the city itself. And then centered at the very center of the city, the very center seat of power for all of Ralia, is the Royal Palace. And the Royal Palace is a staggeringly large building. It looks like it used to be a castle that had been modernized and renovated. And so it kind of has like the remaining elements of a castle, and then it has like mansion type additions built alongside it. And it's just a large complex, very luxurious. It definitely looks like the place where royalty would live. It doesn't resemble the palace in the Santa Fe at all, where that was very much just a traditional looking palace with like tall spires and various walls and places to keep the normal rabble out. This one looks like it'd be more like what the palace looks like in England right now, where it's very much a modern uptake of where some royalty should live. Go ahead.
When I see green, I'm like, oh, grass does exist on this side of the continent.
Who knew? They can grow grass. Not just the occasional confined and enslaved tree stuck around a cement block. It's very, very bold of them to actually try to coincide with nature around all of this concrete monstrosities.
I mean, they've seen less than 1% green compared to all that rock they have.
Yes. It's a small gesture, and it seems it's one that's only afforded to their corrupt nobility.
This is all in Elvish, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those fucking assholes.
Scribble.
Yeah, I can't even get angry at them.
You can't even get angry at this.
At this point, I turn to Deldra and, in perfect Dwarvish, start saying, "Don't you think it's really rude when people start talking in a language that they don't think you can speak?"
Hold on.
He's going to check the languages.
It's at this point that Alexandrite chimes in. He's like, "Yeah, it is kind of rude." In perfect Dwarven.
I give him a knowing look.
He just twiddles his little mustache. But you, before long, the gates open and you guys pull into a long driveway. They have those like hedges that are trimmed into the various shapes of animals, but these ones are, of course, the mythological ones. And it like starts at like small creatures and it extends. And as you get closer to the palace, there's like two really big hedges that have been carved into the shape of like dragons rearing up onto their hind legs, facing each other in opposite directions, and also shooting out flames.
Do dragons exist, or are they extinct?
That is a great question. Why don't you make a history roll for me?
Say no. Make a power move, Shay.
She knows who wears the pants in this relationship.
Do you, though?
We trade off sometimes.
It's true. We're feeling especially kinky. Anywho.
Also, quick question about the palace.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have urban gargoyles of varying physiques?
Oh, you want to make a perception check?
Sure. Why not?
Can I do that? I'm better at perception than history.
Sure. I don't know why you'd be looking for the gargoyles too, since it was in his head, but why not? Oswick, when you do look at the architecture, you do notice, in fact, that there are gargoyles situated at various points along the main exterior walls, but not necessarily on the palace itself. And these are not uniformly carved-looking gargoyles. They are striking various poses and visages of expressions between trying to look terrifying or looking calm and serious. It looks like each of them was carved personally with its own personality.
I was making a reference, but now I'm going to make an Arcana check to see if these are any sort of, like, guardians.
It is a very safe guess that these might be palace guardians.
Okay.
And when you note them, the walls themselves are probably about 10 feet high. They have like a brickwork, and then they have the like iron wrought spikes on the tops, and every so often there's like the little pillars that dot them. And so these gargoyles are probably like 6 or 7 feet tall, perched up on these points. So they're very big gargoyles by comparison to like, real world architecture, unless like the Notre Dame ones are huge too. But I usually think of gargoyles being little things, or fairly small sized. But these are big, and they got like, they're hunched over and they got little wings tucked in, and they very much could be guardians for the palace, with additional security.
Goliath is very offended by your notion of tiny gargoyles.
There was a tiny gargoyle.
There was one, yes.
I have a gargoyle. It is tiny.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He was a tiny little yellow one. Was the red one small too, or was he just kind of medium-sized?
He was the thin one, like...
He was always like
Lanky-
hunched.
he-
Yeah, he was like hunched
The
over,
lanky
wasn't he?
one with the long like beak.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember if he was small or if he was just hunched all the time. Been a while since I watched
He was
gargoyles.
definitely like thin and lanky, but
Well, he's like troll tall, where it's like he's taller if he stood up straight.
yeah.
But
I'd say he was
Probably
one of
so.
the medium-sized ones.
Yeah.
Of the three. He wasn't as tall as Goliath.
no, because
But he
Goliath was a
wasn't as
fucking
short.
unit.
Yeah. I don't know why I bring the rest of you for these missions. I can handle everything. Most
Great.
enemies just bounce off of me.
Yep. And the bitches bounce onto him. Wait, what? Anywho. So you guys pull into the palace. You see that there are various blue cloaks here as well, but their uniforms are very different. They are fully armored, whereas the normal street walking units are in more of a like cloth and not really cloth, but like a uniformed and lightly armored attire. These ones are in like full armor that blends in that blue color, and then they have like shoulder cloaks that go over one side that conceal an arm that also has their weapon tucked into that side. They have helmets that have full face masks that cover up very much the full image of the actual picture. The normal blue cloak cops aren't attired this fully, but this is like the house guard, indiscriminate and very well armed. And one of the attendants, a well-dressed man in a suit, walks up, opens the door, and he says, "Ah, the delegation from the Santa Fate. We were worried when we saw that your car didn't arrive on time. We figured it was nothing serious until word arrived that you all had somehow took a wrong turn and ended up in the pause."
Yeah, the car was set on fire.
And he gasps audibly, and he says, "1,000 apologies for that. The problem with the familiars is being dealt with, as you no doubt saw, by the brave actions of our forces, and we are doing what we can to keep them in line."
But you're not trying to help the pause in any way.
And he kind of gives you a look that's like down the bridge of his nose and his little glasses, and he says, "I didn't realize that the Santa Fe traveled with dwarves."
Kind of like Arcanine.
They don't.
She was caught up in the incident, and it was thought that it would be better to escort her here.
And he
If I'm not mistaken.
looks back to Azali and he gives a low bow and he says, "I apologize that you had to travel in such accommodations. Had we known how serious the incident would have been, we would have had a private car arranged for you, but the the guard does what it can. He kind of looks back to Deldra and he says, and thank you for your timely intervention. And he looks past Deldra to Oswick and he says, and what's your story?
ARD. Sir, I was assigned to keep watch over the dignitary here.
Ah, yes, you are assigned. You're noted and accounted for. He kind of like reaches into his vest and he pulls out 2 little like name cards, and it basically says, "Hi, I'm blank. I'm supposed to be here," and he hands them over to you, to Deldra and Oswick. He says, "Put these on. You wear them at all times."
That is another thing. Did I get anything when I was at the ARD to, signify my...
Oh yeah, you have a badge.
Okay. Then I'll just clip this on and...
And when you clip it on, the words Oswick Arkwright spell out in your signature.
Identity theft.
Right, that's all well and good and everything. Is there perhaps a healer on the ground I might be able to avail the uses of?
He says, yes, we can have you very well presenting yourself to the High King with that, welt there on your face.
I thought that was normal.
Shakes his head and he says, no, not at all, my lady. Here at the palace and within Ralia, we try to make ourselves look presentable when facing royalty.
My nose also does not normally bend this way. But, I got it redecorated.
He just kind of he gives that very unenthusiastic smile and he's like, yes, quite.
I do that thing where like I tilt my head like,
And Deldra does not look the slightest bit ready to act guilty. So she's going to pin the badge to her shirt and just go, I'm sorry I didn't get the chance to clean up.
And as you pin it on, it spells out Deldra Strongheart in your signature.
Everyone's on file.
He says, well, that's fine. If you would all follow me, I do have to present the delegation first.
I do step forward first.
And your retainers come up behind you. And they say, I'll have someone come pick the 2 of you up and get you cleaned up and presentable. And sure enough, it doesn't take long. There are attendants who come out and they take Oswick and Deldra off to a waiting room, and a healer comes out and patches Oswick up. Go ahead and mark yourself back to full. Same thing for the twins. You can put yourselves back at full because it's basically going to count as a long rest before we get to next week's episode anyways.
Ooh, does that mean I get my spells back too?
Not now, but you're back at full health. But next episode, it'll be like a day has passed. Azali, you're guided into the palace, and it is a very luxurious building for what it is. It doesn't quite match the majesty of the Summer Empress's palace because, of course, she is eternal, magnificent, and radiant, and no expense was spared in making that palace look just extravagant. But as you enter this palace, there are various bust statues and portraits, and the floors are polished marble, and it looks like it is very much a place where somebody of high station would live.
Well, looks like they have some modicum of understanding of art. You say that generously.
Mm-hmm. And the 2 of them look and nod, and He just one of them gives just a quick, and he's like, "We're not going to be able to talk as off the collar here, so I would be careful of what we say in Elven."
Of course.
And as the group of you enter the main area, it is the first time that you get to see the royal family. They have all assembled. There is like just one of those meeting places where people can come up and talk to the leaders about their grievances, and usually there's other like chamberlains and stuff who handle the small matters, but important stuff goes directly to the High King. But there are an assortment of thrones. There is a main throne, much taller than the others, and you see seated on it is an older-looking human. He looks to be probably in his late 40s, early 50s. He's got a full, well-trimmed beard that's graying. Looks like it used to be a kind of blondish color. Now it's kind of getting that like sandy, mixed in with gray color to it. Beside him is a smaller, but not smaller than the other thrones, where a woman sits. She has dark hair. She has dark hair, freckled features, and slightly pointed ears that look like they've been cropped at the tips, so that they kind of make the elven elongation, and then they immediately angle and straighten out at the tops. And she's sitting, and she's, despite what would look like a horrible disfiguration to the Sainafate, she looks quite beautiful, but she's easily recognizable as a half-elf. She's dressed in a like nice white and sparkling dress that has various jewels and stuff across her neck and down her front, and she's seated next to her husband. And then there's 3 other chairs. There's a chair immediately to the right of the king, where a younger gentleman sits, and he looks like the spitting image of the High King. If it was, 30 years younger. He's got a clean-shaven face, a very golden blonde-looking hair, and he's very well-dressed, nicely built, very tall, very handsome. And then just kind of like the other 2 sides, there's a young girl. She's got the same kind of blonde features as the king and the son. This is very much a daughter. And then there's another seat immediately opposite of the first prince, of a younger boy who looks to be probably no older than 10, same kind of sandy blonde hair. Give me a perception check real quick. Okay, you immediately notice that none of the children have cropped ears. They all have the same rounded human ears.
Do I get the sense that it's from diluted blood, or that they're different?
Not with that roll, but it is very obvious that these children are human.
Okay. Then I will. I kind of like fall into that whole like formal, like the whole formal court attitude, and I step forward and I give a curtsy, not a full bow.
Was there more?
Sorry, just
that's okay. You just paused, so I was just making sure before I said anything.
Amazali Shalu Melife Ethelinda from the Cenefate, I say in Rallian.
And the attendant stands next to you, and he repeats it back louder and more like a one of those attendants who announces everybody, and he says, Azali Etherland. He recites the whole thing because you have a long name and I don't remember it. I'm sorry. He recites all of it, and he says, the delegate of the Cenefate, representative of House Etherlinda, of the Wood Elves, and he kind of like pauses, and he looks at his notes, and he kind of looks up, and he looks to the king, who kind of raises a brow and gives a nod, and he says, "And appointed consort of Prince Theodore Rall."
Go wide-eyed.
Oh!
What?
Oh.
And the High King stands and he says, "Welcome, Asli Ithelinda. It is a pleasure to finally be meeting you, though I hear your trip here was not a savory one. I apologize for the detour that took you into the pause. It does not put forward a good image of Ralia as a whole, that you had to experience such a thing. Rest assured that the matter will be looked into, and we will do everything we can to make sure the situation is handled appropriately and humanely. It's come to my attention that funds and needs of the familiars within the pause and the working citizens there have been neglected for a time," and he kind of glances at the attendant, who looks to the side for a moment and then starts scribbling something down. "But we will look into it and make sure that it's handled. And we will also make sure that the Saint of Fate is compensated for the damages that befell you on the way here." And that seems to, like, Alexandrite was about to say something, but he remembers his place and slinks back beside the other two attendants. "But you'll be staying here. You needn't worry about your lost possessions. I know they are not easily replaced, but we will make an effort to afford you the same luxuries you were due back in your homeland."
It must be some mistake. I'm gonna try to grab the notes that he was reading.
And the attendant kind of like glances, and the king nods, and he says, "There's no mistake. Your empress had arranged an agreement, as it were, that while you're here, you would serve as a consort for my son, Theodore." And he gestures to the young human who's seated beside him, who also seems a bit shocked, like he wasn't briefed on this either, but he's also kind of looking at you and making that effort to look at you, but not look at you. Where it's like, don't stare at her, don't stare at her, don't stare at her, but he's staring.
Uh-huh.
And he says, "This was arranged, and your family agreed on this, and both sides agreed that this would be a good stepping stone for lasting peace talks."
I was supposed to return.
And he kind of smiles, and he says, "I imagine that in time you will. I heard there's a rumor that humans are not as long-lived as the elven kind."
I'm gonna glance back to my escort and try to figure out
The two elves immediately look in opposite directions and up towards the ceiling.
Yeah,
my God,
probably
they do.
cough like that.
Yeah, and one of them lets out a little cough and is like, I totally didn't know about this."
What fantastical, terrible architecture these humans have.
"Oh my, how awful."
It's like you're going to have to get used to it or something.
Well,
But we-
time for us to hit the old dusty trail. See you later.
the Spring Prince. I just like look stunned.
And he kind of raises a brow and he says, "Ah, yes, the Spring Prince." And he gestures over to the young woman sitting opposite of the queen. And he says, "My daughter,
Oh, the
Teresa.
cute dog.
Oh,
My daughter Teresa will be heading towards the Saint of Fate, and much like you are now, will be acting as a consort for the Spring Prince.
These hits, they keep on a-coming.
Good job, Summer.
What does her expression say?
she kind of has that that I've been assigned for a royal arrangement. I hate this, but I know it's my duty as a princess to act like I love it. And so you can insight it. See how well you pick up on this. Outwardly, she looks very stoic and dignified and accepting of her role. You can read between the layers, though. She looks just as surprised and terrified as you are, because whereas, you're having to live with humans, she has to go live with elves.
And I can get the sense of what this means. This is we're basically we're well treated hostages.
That would be the, like, if you really rolled back the fineries of it. Yeah, it is very much we exchange children to make sure everyone behaves, but these are more or less arranged consorts as well. And the king does clarify, and he says, this will not be a marriage of any sort. For your time here, you will act as a consort and confidant for my son, until such a time that he does take on a wife of his own, and you will stay here, as will my daughter stay at the Ceasefire, until such a time that the Spring Prince also chooses a wife of his own. As we understand of your culture, that may take a number of decades, which, well, as you know, us humans, we do not have many of those to spare. So, by time such a decision is reached, it would be time for you to return home as well, as my son would be very much a man well past my age.
And then, like, with...
So basically what he summarizes is you're not given... Like, you're not entitled to becoming a queen if the king dies. And it's very much we know how this shit works. Your children don't have any rights of succession, and you can't claim any power if something happens, because you're an elf. You're going to live longer than any of the humans here. So they're not going to leave it to chance that you can assume power at any point. And it's basically going to be the same thing over there, where it's like, if she pops out any children for the Spring Prince, they're going to be half-elves, so they don't have any rights anyways.
Wow, this is fucked up.
I know.
Yeah.
But, that's how politics and political marriages work. But it is very much to secure an alliance, or at least lasting peace talks between the two of you. The impression is that while you're there within the palace, the Saint of Fate will not risk bringing you to harm, because apparently you're valuable. And the Rallians won't try anything because their princess is in the hands of the Summer Empress. And they definitely view that she is valuable.
So... Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I say anything for a long moment before, like, I just speak in, like, barely audible with, like, much less emotion attached to it. For duty to my family.
And, it's about this time where, like, you have a moment to let it sink in, and the king says, well, let's not dwell too longly on the unpleasantries of this surprise. We have a feast arranged, and we can show you to your room and arrange for some newer clothes to arrive for you, since yours were tragically lost in the fire.
Of course.
And after that, they kind of like give the dismissal, and everybody starts to disperse to start getting things put together. And your attendants step forward, and they say, Alexandrite says, "I gotta be honest, we really didn't know that they were gonna throw this curveball at us."
What'd he say?
He said, "I gotta be honest, we really didn't know they were gonna throw this curveball at us."
Glance back to the elves.
The two elves kind of look to the side again, and they're like, "Nope, definitely didn't know." But excuse me, wish this cough would go away. Valen, the wood elf, kind of clears his throat, and he says, "But on that, we do have our orders that 2 of us have to return to the Saint of Fate. One will stay on as your God, what's the word? Why am I missing all these words?
Bodyguard?
The fancy word for bodyguard.
Chevalier.
No, not that. What's the in Vampire the Masquerade? It's not the ghoul, but the
Hound?
No.
Thin blood.
Ark, what is it when they have the human attendants? There's another word for it that's not the ghoul, but it's something else.
You mean like the retainer?
There you go, retainer. Yeah, one of us will hold on as your retainer.
Pick gnome.
I think it's already decided.
Is it?
No, I think you get to pick.
Who are you keeping as your retainer? High elf, wood elf, or gnome?
The gnome sassy. I like him.
But he's gonna be so upset if he doesn't get his car.
And it sounds like he's not getting his car.
I mean, if he might want to stay so they can pay him back for his car.
I mean, if that's why you're gonna pick him as your retainer.
No. I'm gonna. I would not ask it of you if you are unwilling. Can I get a sense of who is most willing?
Sure. You have to insight it. Or was that? Okay, 18. Having spent a good amount of time with all of them, it seems like none of them are excited about leaving your side. And it's kind of one of those things where it's very much it's our duty to protect you. It really doesn't matter to us, and none of us are eager to abandon you here. Basically, is what the sense you get. They know what their duty is. They know that each of them would give their lives to protect you, and so each of them is very much willing to stay. If that helps.
Why don't we change scene while she thinks about it?
That is a good cliffhanger. That is a good cliffhanger. So, getting close on the time crunch here, so I gotta split this up a little bit. Oswick and Deldra, you guys are brought in next, and you're brought before the king. The rest of his family has dispersed, and it is very much just a short and formal kind of thing where he has you debrief what happens, and he comes down from the throne to walk up to each of you, and he puts a hand on Oswick's shoulder and kind of like gives the leaning gesture to also give an appreciative touch to Deldra, and he says, "I thank you both for intervening as you did. As citizens of Ralia, it wasn't your place to rush into danger, but you did so of your own accord, and we could use more citizens like you." And he takes out like a little medal of accommodation. It's very much just an honorary thing, but it is, you're getting recognized by the High King. And so he says, "On behalf of the Rallian royal family, I thank you for this." Both of you can give me a perception check as well, because I remembered I didn't answer a history question earlier, and I can tie this in.
17.
18. You both notice that the High King's eyes are gold.
Can I infer anything from this?
Absolutely, you can give an Arcana check.
May I join?
No, because you missed out on that roll.
Is a 20.
That's fair.
Soft 20.
Soft
Out of
20. It's a soft 20.
I got a 10.
Oswick, you remember reading in books and rumors that the Rallian royal family were famed dragon hunters, and it's rumored that they did rituals and things that infused draconic power into them. There's also other rumors that they just have the blood of dragons within them, and there's other rumors that the Rallians are dragons. You're not sure which ones. You're not sure.
Like the dragon fires.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, they gotta light the dragon fire.
You can't lose the Amulet of Kings, etc., so forth. You're not sure which of the three is the truest, but you've read equal accounts on all three. And going back to everybody's checks on if dragons are real, you know that most dragons have been hunted to extinction, and if there are any dragons that still exist, they do not show themselves.
I mean,
Deldra, give me a wisdom check, by the way. Just a flat wisdom.
Okay. 20.
When you were healing people outside of the factory, because I knew people wanted to ask this question, but it didn't get brought up during the session, when you were healing people, you noticed that while the Finkmen were still lying out around and burned in front of the gates, the owner who had stepped out, his body was nowhere to be found.
Oh.
Just slinking
I
away into a
would
dark
put that
alleyway.
into my report.
Yep. So you can remember that, because I know 2 people wanted to check on him and it didn't happen during the session. So
Would I be aware of that too? Since
sure,
I was
you
going
can also
around?
make the check. You probably got distracted helping other people, and you didn't reach that far.
That's fair.
But Deldra, you can store that knowledge away for later. The owner definitely was caught in the front of the blast, but his body was not there. And it definitely doesn't look like there was like a situation where, you know, there's some of him over there and some of him over there. No, he just, you know, there was a corpse, or at least his body was there at one point, and then once all the chaos died down, he was gone.
There was a blackened outline on the ground of a halfling's body, just marked by the explosion.
That poor halfling. Poor halfling 5. Just fireballed.
They're now the halfling 4.
Just fireballed. No, it's the halfling 1 because the 4 died in the fireball at Troll Skull Alley.
Oh, right.
And Arvon escaped.
This band sucks.
I mean, that is the canon we established. Is that yeah, it was Arvon's band that got blown up when Troll Skull Alley got fireballed.
Just fireball.
Just fireballed. So you guys are given awards, and they're like, yeah, you know, we'll tend to your wounds and everything, and you're welcome to stay for the feast. And as the night progresses, there is a nice feast. You all are, the 2 of you are given seats quite far from the royal family. You're probably mixed in with some upper officials and stuff like that, but you're still given seats at the table where the royal family is. You're just very far from them. Whereas Azalee has a seat next to the prince, and her retainer is able to stay somewhere within reach of her to keep her safe. And you guys spend the night just relaxing and enjoying a long feast, and, you know,
Drinking legal booze.
Drinking legal booze. The camera cuts back over to Vesuvius, where the familiars have had a chance to get cleaned up. The 2 of you come out of the respective rooms dressed in new clothes, because your clothes had been taken to get cleaned. So if you want, you can go ahead and describe what outfits you found. Cool stories.
It's just white. It's just pants and shirts with white and black stripes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't imagine anything interesting, really. What do they got?
We're good.
They
It's
can
very
be-
close.
They can be the fancy pants that like pillow out ridiculously too far. Same with like the sleeves on the shirts.
He's probably
Can it
wearing
be that?
like some slacks and a button-up,
Yeah.
and he's like, I like my clothes.
There was
I don't like
probably like a little like coat to go with it, just a sports coat. But you're like, yeah, this feels weird.
I like my coat, damn it. And we are together again, or
Yeah, you guys make your way back out onto the club, and you see that Penny has somehow found her way into the booth, and she is seated between Mr. Peanut Butter and the mysterious gentleman, and she is like got a glass in front of her of this mysterious green liquid, and she looks a little flushed, like she had already started drinking without you guys. And Vix is sitting on a corner, and Vix looks to Patches first, and she's like, "Did you get all cleaned up then?"
Yeah, I had to say no a lot. You know, because I am a classy sort of gentleman.
You see her ears go flat a moment, and she's like, "Oh, okay." And she gets up out of the seat and gestures for the two of you to come sit.
Yeah, go sit down.
Yep, I'll take a seat.
And as the two of you sit down, Vix sits down again, and Mr. Peanut Butter slides each of you a glass of this green liquid. And he says, "Well, I think congratulations are in order. I know I've already said it before, but you guys did a swell job, and I'm really proud of what you've accomplished today. Everybody's going to remember what we did here."
So,
Yeah, right.
what are we doing next?
Well, we're going to lay low for a while, let the heat die down, because they're going to be looking for a couple of possums. Did you guys not realize that you're like the only possums in the paws?
So, I'm gonna take a vacation for a while.
Yeah, it's just a real good thing that we're gonna get paid so much money for that thing that we agreed to do, so we can lay low.
Look,
Yeah.
they're just gonna get fake identities as rat familiars.
I like to imagine that people think that they're the only two possums because
Oh
every other
no!
possum
Oh no!
is
They're very much an oddity. Normal
yeah, we're weird.
normal familiars are basic pet animals, and like this would have been like the weird swamp wizard who was like, "I'm gonna need me a right proper familiar. This possum will do." And
Yeah,
that's
pretty
how
much.
that's how the Patches and Stitches line got made.
Bingo
We
bongo.
don't like
Bingo
to talk
bongo.
about.
Yeah,
We don't like to talk about Uncle Swampy.
yeah. You don't talk about Master Swampy. But yeah, every so often a wizard is like, I don't.
people food.
Yeah, it's like, I don't need a frog, I don't need a ferret, I don't need a cat or an owl. It's like, I'm gonna pick something neat, like an octopus. And then everybody's like, why is your familiar an octopus? And he's like, shut up, that's why.
Yeah. No, it's
Bite
fine.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, like I said, we don't mind laying low as long as we get paid. Like we was told we was gonna get paid.
Of course. And you see him reach into his coat, and he pulls out a sack of coins, and he's like, here's everything I promised. You can count it if you like.
Hey,
I made up my
I
word.
take it. I hold it for a second. I look at Peanut Butter. Nah, we good. Alright, this is fine. I
Great.
put it away.
Well, while we're here, why don't we celebrate?
All right.
Fuck yeah.
What is this weird green goo that everyone is
drink it.
drinking? God,
You drink it, con check, please.
It's orphans' tears.
I know it's orphan's tears.
It's always orphan tears.
It's always orphan tears.
Rim-
character
He
doesn't-
has-
he
Rim
never
has one
introduced
alcohol.
himself yet.
19.
19. As you bring it to your lips, you hear the subtle, like, giggling of a small child, and then you drink it down, and it hits your stomach, much like your hammer hits your hated enemies. But you're a tough individual. You know how to take your alcohol, and so it's a very sweet flavor with a subtle burn as it goes down the throat. But it's good.
Orphan's tears.
But it's good. It has the taste of licorice and sadness.
Yeah, so like this glass, I consume all of it.
Yeah, you drink, you knock it all back.
Yeah.
And Mr. Peanut Butter's like, well, all right then. And he grabs the clear decanter and he pours some more. And then everybody hears the subtle crying sound of small children as he pours it. And he stands up and he says, well, here's a toast. It's a toast to the 4 of us. Tomorrow, there'll be more of us.
Wait, and I stop and account. There's 5 people here.
We didn't account for Penny.
Fair enough.
You didn't.
I hold up.
You had this.
I wrote this speech well before she arrived.
I lean over and I'm just like, hey yo, just like for the record, the rhyme was us, so you totally could like change the number and it wouldn't have like fucked up the flow or nothing. just like holding the. When you say that, you see him give this look of clarity, and his tail wags, and he's like, "You're right, huh? Yeah.
Vix, take a note." She's like, "I'm not gonna write that down."
Yeah, but also if like you want us to like off Penny, I'm gonna feel really bad about it.
If we were gonna kill her, she would have been dead before you got back. And Penny's like, ha, I'm sitting right here, and she takes another slow drink.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of what I figured, but I just say it because, like, she bricked a guy. That's pretty good.
We can't just bring people in. He's had one sip and he's already drunk. By the way,
you're not even gonna roll it?
No, I'm just going to assume.
Alrighty.
You can't brick people because they get bricked, because then we would have to hire half of the construction workers that are shitty at their job and drop your bricks.
So hard.
Peanut Butter looks thoughtfully at that too, and he's like, huh, should we hire the construction familiars? They're really good at bricking too. Penny, could you teach them how to brick people like you do? And she's like, I could try.
You just throw a brick in the face. It's not that hard. I can do it. I can't do it.
Vix
puts
a hand on your shoulder, and she's like, I think you're done.
The trick is to connect the stone part with the skin, the flesh.
Oof.
So seeing that my brother is already fucked up, and he's
super
had like
lightweight.
half of his drink.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna knock mine back, swap my glass with his, and then knock his back.
Let me have 2 more con saves, please.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So you knock these back in succession.
Yeah.
So when the first one hits, you don't necessarily feel that your liver immediately gave out on that one, and you knocked the second one, and you're like, yeah, my brother has obviously had 2, and then your head hits the...
Perfect.
Fuck, she's dead.
And Mr. Peanut Butter kind of looks down, and he's like, huh, wow, she really can't hold her orphan tears.
Why is the drink called that? Why is the drink crying?
And
the fuck happened to the drink? Did you give us this because you know we're orphans? That's fucked up, man.
Mr. Peanut Butter frowns, and he kind of looks down, and he's like, "Oh, jeez, I didn't even think about that. I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't realize your parents were dead. That's really sad." And he looks genuinely sad for you, and he kind of gets a tear, and he's like, "I'm really sorry about that. I didn't know your parents were dead. Who killed them? If you wanted me to find out who killed your parents and kill them for you, I can do that."
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Answer.
Is he a golden retriever?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Went over that.
That's why he loves everybody so much.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
Just had to be sure.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he genuinely feels bad that you feel bad.
It's been a month, everybody. We can forgive her for.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
I dare you not remember the
Mr. Peanut
sentence.
Butter is in fact a golden retriever familiar. He had, if he was played by an actor, it would be Owen Wilson, and he's got the hair down, and his little like floppy ears come out over the sides, and he's got a big bushy golden retriever tail.
I love him already.
You're all right, Peanut Butter Gamer. You're all right.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
Okay. That's weird. You're weird, but I like you. And the mysterious benefactor kind of like clears his throat, and he's like, I think it's time for them to head to bed. And he's like, yeah, I don't think they're gonna be able to stay and party for much longer. Vix, can you make sure they get back all right? And she kind of nods, and she's like, yeah, I can do that. And she slings an arm under Stitches, and she's like, come on, Patch.
I think this place is weird. I just want everyone to know that.
Well, it's Vesuvius. It's, it's run by a devil. It is what it is. And they keep walking.
Oh, god damn it.
Hey, Vix.
Did you just figure it out?
And Morph just figure it out.
How did you not figure
Well,
it
no,
out?
I figured, but then I'm like connecting the orphan tears to the
No,
fact that
nobody actually asked who that was. He was just sitting
I
there.
didn't need to ask. If there was no reason for Patches to ask. Also, there was no reason for me to out of character ask because I know who the character was.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. The audience will figure it out eventually.
Hey,
but yeah.
Vix. The weird lady that was showing the ankles, she was like, I'm gonna rock your world. And I said, no.
Do you see her go a bit red at that? And she's like, which one?
I don't know.
I told her I was spoken for.
I told her I was spoken for.
She kind of blinks and she's like, oh, better for her that you didn't remember. Come on. And she takes you guys into the back safe room. And
I'm talking about you because Patches is the kind of idiot that would confess that sort of thing when he was drunk.
And she gets Stitches down into a bed, and she moves you over to like the bed beside it, lays you down, and she's like, I know you big idiot. And she leans in and kisses the top of your head. I'm gonna go make sure Peanut Butter doesn't wander off with your new friend, okay? You guys just stay here.
Okay.
Great. Because, yeah, you guys left Penny with two very handsome, mysterious gentlemen in a nightclub, and she's drunk. It's fine.
Well, you know what? Maybe her employer should be a little more concerned than me.
You definitely killed the only thing that was him making sure that she was okay.
You sons of bitches, you left her with the sons of bitch.
Yeah,
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
that's kind of rude.
You are a son of a bitch, son, says the
I'm
dog,
unconscious.
pulling down the newspaper. So the night draws to a close with you guys resting. Everybody has their own form of revelry and party in the light of what happens, news both good and bad. And we kind of wind down here. It's 10 minutes early, but it's fine, because if I stretched it out, we'd go longer, and I can't go longer. But I think this is a good stopping point. We kind of got where we needed to be. I at least have 2 parties instead of a party and then 3 other people running around in different directions. So we're kind of slowly consolidating everybody together. And I actually kind of like this format where you guys are doing your own things until it becomes necessary for you all to be together. How does everybody else feel about this format so far? It's not gonna be permanent, mind you, but for right now, it's like where we're just kind of flipping back and forth because it doesn't feel forced. This feels natural, like the way you guys would be
how
progressing.
the party forms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Let's not everybody meet. Hey, we're going in the same direction. Let's join
Yeah.
forces.
and I mean, that might happen later where it is a, hey, we need to work together for a various reason, but, I'm not, this isn't going to be a thing where I force you guys together, and I think right now the circumstances are kind of slowly melding people into a group, and it's working. Lee, last bookkeeping note. Which retainer are you keeping?
I will request.
Alexandrite.
It's not your choice to make.
I know.
Yeah, I'll request. Valen.
Valen?
The-
Valen was
yeah,
the
the
wood
wood
elf. Okay. Great.
And Morph breathes a huge sigh of relief.
Yeah, he didn't want those high elf smooches.
Fuck that high elf. He's a dick.
He was.
I was kind of rooting for the high elf, honestly, specifically for that.
Yeah. It would have been great when you guys got into conflict and he's like, good, a chance to kill you.
He
Oh,
can
well.
try.
I mean, you don't know what level he is. It's fine. He's definitely not Death Watch or, one of the best assigned by somebody's mother to make sure that anything that tries to hurt her baby will kill everyone in the room and then burn the building to the ground.
Okay, let's face it. If Orisa was assigning her best, she'd be there.
Would she, though?
That's- Well, I mean, she's no helicopter parent.
Sink or swim, bitch.
I'm no helicopter parent. That's why I was gone for 20 years. Also, I got pushed into a death portal.
Hey, different continuity.
Different continuity. That hasn't happened yet.
Or will it
Yet.
at all?
Or will it at all?
This
I
time
definitely
gets kicked into the
kind of liked the dynamic that we formed later on, where it was just like they just had a really bad marriage and it wasn't anything personal, and then they tried to work it out. I kind of liked that, where I don't know, it felt very Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
And then they discovered that they were both spies, but they didn't realize they were.
Spies on opposite sides, and then they had to kill each other, and then their trying to kill each other led to very, very passionate sex. And that's how Lee was made. Yes, Morph, that is where Orphan Tears came from. That is exactly where I got it from, and I am not ashamed of it. All right.
I like to think that when any orphan who cries around the decanter, it just automatically refills.
I mean, that might be the case, and there may or may not be like sweatshops on Avernus or some other hellish plane where they just have orphans in a factory chopping onions for all eternity and having their tears bottled while being reminded of their dead parents or the dog they had to put down. They just have Old Yeller playing on loop.
Oh god. Just over and over again.
Yeah, you gotta chop onions, watch Old Yeller. Batman is continuously screaming in their ears, your parents are dead.
I'm Batman.
Your parents are dead. Become the hero you need to be.
But your parents are dead too.
And look what I made
God,
of
you're
myself! Look what I made of myself! Get out!
Yeah. But hey, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Forge, for stopping by and dropping a sub. Thank you, anyone who's interested in the With Advantage fundraiser that is coming up on November 4th through the 8th? 4th through the 8th. Yes, 4 days.
Yep.
I know things because I promote. This has been Forest for the Trees, Volume 2. And is it Monday yet? Oh, it's not as catchy when I say it.
That's actually closer to Tuesday.
Hey, Vampire the Masquerade tomorrow. Woo!
Yay.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the Bloodsuckers.
Yeah. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.